welcome to another episode of Podcast 572. As always, I'm your host, Kyle. I'm joined by my two friends, Dan and Matt. We have a slew of emails to read. We got a bunch of news to get through, but before we do either of that, we're going to do what we always do. We're going to go through what we're currently playing. I have been playing one very big release, so I'll probably talk about that first because I think I'm the only person here that's played it. I don't think either of you played God of War.
No, not yet.
Okay.
I think you're on your own.
Okay, so I will jump into Ragnarok first. This game has been out since I think not this week, but the previous week when we were off from recording.
Mm-hmm.
It got 10s out of 10s everywhere, as kind of expected.
Of course,
I knew it was going to. Yeah.
And I went in, and I always go into a 10 out of 10 game like a little more leery. I will say, like right off the bat, I'm about 10 hours into the game. And from what I can tell, from what I've looked up, without trying to spoil the game for myself, I'm about a third through the story portion of it. It deserves a lot of the praise that it's getting. One big thing I'll say about it is, even compared to like Horizon, which came out earlier this year, this is one of the truly, like, for me, I'm playing on PS5, so it might be a different experience on PS4. I have no idea, but on PS5, it feels like one of the first truly like next gen titles.
Sure.
And maybe it's because I'm playing it on an OLED TV that has variable refresh rate, so I don't see any of the screen tearing issues that some people might see, or the frame rate might be smoother, but it has like this next generation level of quality to it that I just feel like has lacked in almost every other game that's come out. Not to say that the games up to this point have been bad, but like,
you're right.
Horizon was a PS4 game.
Horizon, I think that was a very like borderline game because it even playing that one on a PS5, I don't remember it being like that much better in my head over the first one.
No,
but
not
maybe
at all.
that's because I had just played
prettier. Yeah.
Well, I just played a little bit of the first one before that one came out to finish the DLC, and it just felt like I was just continuing to play the game.
Yeah, and like I mean, I'll be honest, I've not played the first God of War since it came out 4 years ago, but this game makes that feel like a proof of concept at times with some of the stuff. Like, it's a real leap forward. But I really feel like this game, in comparison to Horizon, feels like it was, maybe they had more time to play around with it on PS5, whereas Horizon, it was kind of like, it's done on PS4, we got it running on PS5, and it's fine.
Right.
Whereas I think they did a lot more development with this one because it really feels like it. And again, like visually, it's top notch. I think the one thing that's really interesting about the game, like I went into this, I mean, I partially went into this pretty blind, but if I'm being honest, like they didn't put a lot of stuff out about this game ahead of time, as we talked about. Like there wasn't a bunch of trailers. There's like maybe one or two.
They never had
really
like
talk
the
about
major
the story.
presentation for it that you thought it might.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what's refreshing about it when I play is I had no idea. And like when it starts, obviously it's a direct sequel to the first one. So without spoiling it, there at the beginning of the game, there is somebody that's chasing you that you did something to pretty heinous in the last game.
Sure.
So there's a reason why this person is chasing you. But once you get through that part of it, the game's story is really about the revelation of the end of the last one with your son and what he wants to do about that revelation.
Okay.
And it takes its time, like getting to like, well, what do you want to do about this? You know, it's kind of interesting because it has Kratos. He takes kind of almost a back seat because the story is more about his son and how he's going to deal with the events of what happened at the end of the last game.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's still there. I mean, you play as him like 95% of the game. You do play as his son, which is pretty cool. I don't think that's really a spoiler because you've seen that in the trailers.
Yeah.
And now the kid's old enough that it makes sense. And they do a cool thing. The thing that's cool about the 2018 game and this one, it's all one take, kind of like some of those movies that do that.
Yeah.
And they do a cool thing with the camera when like they switch the character to the son, and then they kind of switch the character back to Kratos. I think that's pretty well done. But that's the thing that's refreshing about it. Like when I started it, like knowing nothing about the story, it's not shoving you into this like big cataclysmic thing like the name Ragnarok would suggest. It's more like reserved, and I'm sure I'm gonna get to the point where it's like, no, this shit's really gonna get bad.
Something's gonna get nuts.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the only other spoiler I'll say, and it's brief, this was shown in the one big trailer that shows towards the beginning of the game, and this is not the person from the end of the last game, but there is that fight with Thor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thor is not the Marvel MCU Thor. He's almost a complete opposite. Like he's got like a huge beer belly, but like he puts up a huge fight.
Yeah.
So like he and Odin show up and they kind of say what they want to say, and then that dude wants to have his fight with Kratos because he wants to see the real God of War, and they have like their big epic fight, which kind of mirrors the fight with the dude from the beginning of the last game, but it's 10 times crazier because they can get away with much more on a PS5. But it's nuts. Like it's a really incredible sequence. But I think the thing that makes it is the fact that it's not trying to mimic Marvel's Thor at all. It's a completely different character. Like this dude's like a real son of a bitch.
Well, I mean,
and he's voiced by a dude from Sons of Anarchy, so I recognize the actor because I heard the voice. I'm like, man, that dude sounds really familiar. I looked up. I'm like, okay, that dude's playing Thor. That's a really good pick. That makes sense.
Yeah,
and I'm sure this character is going to come back into the story later on, but that whole sequence is really well done too. But it's there are big bombastic sequences in the game for sure, but the story is like way more reserved right now than I expected. And that's refreshing. It's not trying to go for like every 5 minutes there's explosions and you're just, racking up a huge combo of kills or something. That stuff's still in the game, but it seems like it's taking its time, which is cool. The other thing that's really nice about it, I think this is the thing that I've told you, Dan, specifically about why you should play the last one, is it's Arkham Asylum. And I was worried that they were going to do an open world with this one because, God of War 2018, hugely successful. Everybody loved it. What did people always want to do with the sequel at that point? They want to make open world.
Right.
They did not do that here at all. It's still very much like the areas are very open. Like there's places you can get in a boat and, swim around and everything, but it's not like, hey, I can go all the way over here to this end of the map. And that it's not like that at all. It's very Arkham Asylum.
And Arkham Asylum, I mean, that's my favorite of the Batman games just because it has a focus and like it is like you're going through a path even though it loops in on itself and stuff. I prefer it when games do that.
This game is definitely more focused, but there is a lot more to that focus, if that makes sense, than the first one. They've added a lot more elements to it. So, but I mean, again, the performance, everything is just so top notch that like when I started playing, like even 10 hours in, I'm looking at this and going like, man, other than like Elden Ring, like I can really see, and we'll talk about when we get to the news, but I understand this year why that game got 10 nominations for the Game Awards.
Understandable.
Like it's very obvious. So I'll have more to say about God of War as we get probably like the next episode, because next week, as time we're recording, next week's Thanksgiving week, I have time off, so I'll definitely dump a lot more time into it and probably have a lot more to say about it the next time we record. But it's fantastic. Everything I've played, I really have nothing negative to say about it. So other stuff, I banged the drum on this the last time I recorded. Vampire Survivors is out on console now for the Xbox. It is also on cloud, so like you can play it on your phone. And then I was telling Matt like earlier in the week, I'm like, man, it's really dumb that I have to have like a backbone to play this game because it should be a touch game, right? They added that support literally the night after. The day after I said that to you, it was like, hey, we updated the game. It has touch support because you're literally just moving your character around. That's it. It's one like left-handed thing. So that's really cool to see. I've played it every which way that you can play it now. It works great everywhere. So, but again, it's not a demanding game. Again, like one of my favorite games of the year. So I'm happy that exists, and there's a lot more ways for somebody to play it now instead of just PC. Because that's just, to me, that's the worst way to play it, just sitting there on a keyboard. So not last thing, but another thing I went back to. So we talk about Halo Infinite all the time.
Well, some of us do.
They did their big update that has like Forge mode and a bunch of fixes and stuff. So I went back, I downloaded the update. I will preface this by saying I have not touched Forge mode. I've seen a lot of videos, but I just went back in and I played some matches, and the matchmaking seems a lot better. So seems like they did some work. Like I actually enjoyed, like I spent an hour just playing matches between like regular deathmatch and SWAT, which is my thing. Every match I had was enjoyable. So
Well,
I don't know what they did under the hood, but something's working now. I do need to jump into Forge.
Where, it is going to get better as it goes. It's just going to take it a really long time to get there.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of somebody made Blood Gulch already.
Forge mode's nothing,
and it looks great.
But just in terms of it getting to a point where it's even half of the game you wanted it to be, it's still going to take years, but it'll get there.
Yeah.
Look at Master Chief Collection. That was awful.
Oh my God.
That was
and again, that's the important thing to note. The guy that fixed Master Chief Collection is now in charge of this. So clearly they're on the right track.
He probably should have been in charge from the start.
Easily.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I'll keep talking about the game because it's Halo, but I'm happy to see that it's
moving
in a better direction finally a year later.
Yeah.
The two last things I played, I actually briefly touched on it tonight before we recorded. I bought Goat Simulator 3 because it has co-op. My girlfriend wants to play the game. We were going to play it last night, but it got too late. And I was like, well, I really want to just see what it is. So I loaded up a little bit, played maybe a half hour of it. Just to give you an idea, the intro of the game. So it has full four-player co-op. I think you can do 2-player split screen, and then if you want to play online, you can play up to 4 people. So it's really meant to be played with multiple people and just go fucking nuts. That's the point. The intro of the game is a farmer on a tractor pulling you, and it is just like the beginning of Skyrim. So you wake up and he's like, oh, you're finally awake. And then he kind of just goes through, and it goes on unnaturally too long to the point that he just starts making comments about it. Like, man, this intro is really long, isn't it? You could skip it. He keeps saying it. He says it multiple times, you could just skip this, but anyways. And then at one point, you get to the end of it, and the game has towers like Assassin's Creed that you have to synchronize.
Sure, okay.
This game's just making fun of everything.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, see that tower over there? I really need you to go over there. I don't know if you understand me because you're just kind of a stupid goat, but please go to that tower. It's good. So I dicked around with it. I just literally had my ton attached to a bunch of stuff. I mean, you can literally attach your ton to a fucking truck and just throw it.
Right.
And hit a bunch of people. Well, and that's the other funny thing about the whole time this dude's driving this truck or trailer in the beginning, he's just running people over casually. People are just getting run over. And he's like, yeah, we're almost there. It's well done. It's a well done intro. So I don't have much more to say. I've only played, like I said, 30 minutes. So I'll probably have more next time I record it, but it seems really good. So really good and stupid. And then finally, I played a shit ton more of Arcade Paradise. I'm almost to the point where there's no more arcade machines. I think I have one more upgrade, so to speak, and then I'll be at that point. That game continues to be fucking fantastic. So
it's a cool game. Yeah, it's just a fun, cool game to play.
That's one of those games. So other games like Vampire Survivors, I'll turn on a podcast or music or something. I like listening to the music in Arcade Paradise because it's spoofed so well.
Yeah,
so,
right.
And I'm at the point too where I bought all of the tracks for the jukebox, and you can play whatever you want.
Yeah.
I wander around. I only have a couple more. Like I told you, a few more machines.
You have a couple more to
finish.
Yeah.
Some
of those get ridiculous.
Some of those games are hard, and some of them are just bad. But
there's there's the one game where there's 4 games based on this Wood Girl character, right?
Yeah, that's
there's the Wood Girl one where there's an adventure one where I'm I need to wait until I don't have to worry about laundry anymore to probably play that one. I concentrated on the one that's the lumberjack game.
Those games are good. Yeah,
and then hard. How would I know that in 2022, one of the deepest written things in a video game is my fucking conversation with some college age girl that's going for the high score in that game? Yeah. I don't know if you did any of those stories. Yeah. The back and forth emails, it just gets deeper and deeper. I'm this is fucking wild.
And it's only a couple games that actually track the high score.
Yeah. But that's one of the most profound things in that game is the conversations you have with these people through email.
There's a lot of little things behind the scenes, your friend who wants you to invest in his company.
Yeah.
And, how that progresses the story and stuff. There's just a lot of little touches that make the game
weird. Yeah.
More than just playing an arcade. Yeah. That's cool.
So that that pretty much wraps up what I've been playing. I will turn it over to you, Dan. You can go through. I know there's a big game you've been playing a lot of that. I will play probably in January. So
yeah, and I would tell you don't need to rush, but I think I might have talked about it a little bit last time just because I had started it, but
you briefly started.
Yeah. But I've played a lot of Star Ocean: The Divine Force. Like I can tell I'm at the point where I'm in the final dungeon and I'm working my way towards like the final boss. I think my total game time is like 45 hours at this point, but I'm also like literally doing everything.
Yeah.
And trying to do like, cause side quests, like they come up from time to time and you have to like kind of go back to all the old areas you visited and then like go in buildings and stuff to find people with the side quests. The side quests in the game, unfortunately, they're not interesting at all. A lot of it is like, go here, bring this to this person, and then come tell me what happened. And you're like, that's kind of dumb because I can fast travel, so it's kind of pointless. There's just like I think it's meant to be more like little stories and stuff you touch on, but like they're not substantial. Like they don't. You could skip them and not miss a thing.
It's almost just busy work.
Yeah, pretty much. And then the other thing is like I was telling you, I can't get one of them to spawn, but I think it's because I haven't played enough of like the little like in-game mini game, which is this weird like battle system like chess thing where you get these pieces and you put them on a board, and depending on where you put them, it'll take like hit points away from the other person. It's not a bad game. I played the one match that like forced me to play, and I was like, oh, I get it. But then it's all about like finding new pieces and getting new pieces and building a deck and then playing against everybody. It's like, I don't know. It
wouldn't be a JRPG or a true one without a weird game.
Without a weird mini game
inside it. Yeah, exactly.
I guess you could say at least it's not card based, but it's piece based. So I'm probably going to have to put 2 to 3 hours into just playing that at some point.
That mode.
Yeah. And the other thing too is I told you like I'm at like 45 hours, but I've only played through one story in the game because you can also play as the guy. And the only reason that's any different is like there are times in the game where you all literally like split up. So like we're gonna go here and we're gonna go here. So you see parts of it from
the other side of what they're
yeah. So it'll be neat to kind of see like what they were doing at the time when I was doing that, but then everything else is the same.
Can you choose the characters that go with the other person at those points, or
it's all
scripted? Determined?
So it's a little weird because I use 4 certain people pretty much, and then at some point 2 of them are just gone for a while. So it's kind of a bummer. But the good news is like everybody, even if you're not using them, they level up, so you're never like truly like screwed. It's not like you have 2 level 60 people and 2 level 30 people. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But then every so often you'll get someone put in your party where you don't use them, and then you've got to go in and use all their skill points to go through like their little skill board and then strengthen their skills and equip stuff. So it can be kind of a drag because there's a lot of like party management stuff. And then a lot of times in those games, you just kind of stick with the people you like. The story overall, it's pretty typical Star Ocean. Like it starts as one thing. And I'm not even really going to spoil anything because it's like the first 10 minutes of the game, but the guy crash lands on the girl's planet. And she's like the princess of a kingdom here, and she finds him, and then it becomes hey, you need to do this and I need to do this. Why don't we just kind of work together kind of a thing? Yeah. And then it becomes kind of a smaller story that turns into something else. And then it turns into something else, and then it becomes like this planet is one of those planets where they don't know about space. They've never been to space. Yeah. So like someone coming to space from space is a big deal, and it's, technically illegal. And then it turns into this whole other thing. And then at the end, it's just like, I'm not even 100% sure what's happening anymore. But, but like, it becomes a typical, like, eventually you go to space, you go to the Star Ocean, but like, you really only ever go to like a small city where you can only go to a couple places, or you're on a spaceship where there's not really a lot of exploration that I remember from some of the older ones, even like the older, like PS2 ones. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that's because they've changed like the battle system where like everything is on the screen. It's not in the battles and stuff. Like it was and the older ones, like you'd see them and then you'd run into them and then it would turn into like a battle arena. but now it's just like you can just attack stuff that's out there.
Okay.
I think that that's better to a certain point because it keeps the flow of the game moving. But then there's also like I'm in giant areas and there's just nothing to fight because it takes forever for stuff to respawn.
Okay.
The game it has ups, it has downs. I wouldn't say it's the best Star Ocean game I've ever played. I still think the PS2 one is.
Yeah.
Although I never played the last one, and at some point I do want to, but
that one's just really short from my understanding.
Yeah, and it's
like
weird
20
because
hours or something.
The older like PS2 one was super long. The 360, like that Last Hope one, was pretty long, especially if you wanted to do everything.
That one was really long game.
And then, so not only do I have to like finish the story, but then there's post game content, and then if I want to finish it, then I gotta play as
the other character.
The good news is I can skip most things in the game now because I won't really care. But there is one really, really annoying part about this game, and it's when you're running around. R2 is your map, right? It just brings up a map. You can kind of see where stuff is. L2 is like this like scan function this robot you has where it can like find chests or whatever. But if you're running around and the characters decide to have talkie time where they're just like saying random things to each other,
like random JRPG.
You cannot use the map. You cannot scan.
That's terrible.
You cannot even access like your menu. The only thing it does is pause. You have to finish them. You have to wait for them to finish their conversation.
You can't speed through the conversation.
Nothing skips it.
That sucks.
Like nothing does any. It is terrible.
That's
just like
bad.
Why can't they talk while I'm looking at the map? Like who cares?
That seems like an oversight.
Very much so.
I just don't understand how that would get through like a phase where people play tested it and was just like, "This is boring as shit."
We've moved past this.
Well, because they'll say the same lines over sometimes. Like, let's say they're having a conversation and you get into a fight, it'll interrupt it.
Yeah.
And then when you get out of it, there's a chance it'll start over.
So you just hear the same thing again.
Man.
Or like there's this one area. There's this one area like you kind of go back to a couple times because it's meant to be like a mini boss dungeon where you can kill these things to get rewards. Every single time you run through this main room, and then because you have to like run up and take a left, there's like poison swamps in this area. Every single time you enter this room, she makes a comment about how this stuff's poisonous. Like, no shit, I have been here a dozen times. Like,
Damn.
Okay, dude. Like, so there's a lot of little things like that. The voice acting is all over the place.
That's what I could tell from the demo.
Yeah, it doesn't sync, and I think it's because it's obviously meant to be played in Japanese, and they just didn't give a shit to sync it to American Mouse. That's fine. I don't care about that. But some of the voice actors are good. Some of them, like the main girl you play as, I wouldn't say she's bad, but like her affectation just doesn't match sometimes. So I don't know. It seems out of place. It's overall, it's fine. It's not a great RPG. It's not the best RPG I've even played this year. Because I wanted to play this, and then I want to get Tactics Ogre and play through that, which by all accounts is better. So this will get done, and then I'm probably going to be burned out on RPGs for a little bit just because this is kind of sucking.
I have all three of those games stacked in my living room. Sealed.
Yeah. So I played. So that's that. I'll finish it and maybe I'll run through the guys thing and report on that next time. But it's not going to be anything special, I can tell. Other than that, I haven't played too much else. Like I've just a lot more Marvel Snap because that game is incredible. I'm at now what you would call like pool 3 of cards. Where like now I'm starting to get crazier cards which do more interesting things.
Yeah.
Which is what makes the game really good, is because like you can tell there's tiers, and like some of the cards I find I'm like playing against or getting now are insane. And they can be really good for you. They could royally screw you up. Like there's an Agatha Harkness card, which is really good because if you actually use her, she starts in your deck and then she plays your cards for you.
Oh,
so
that's
you
weird.
just don't do it. And
that's cool.
So what happened to me was on turn 6 of one thing, I played a card which automatically gives you a random card, which happened to give me her, and then she immediately played all of my cards wrong, and I ended up losing because I played a stupid 1 power card. Like the thing about the game I like though is like I don't really care if I lose; it's fine. I almost kind of like the chaos because it can make some really bizarre things happen.
For sure.
I got a Doc Ock card at one point, which I was like generated from the game to my hand, and it was his move is he takes 4 cards out of your opponent's deck and puts them on the spot he's played in on the other side.
Okay.
Which seems like it would be bad for you because like it could play any 4 cards. But my favorite thing, it played 4 cards, and it was so funny because it played one of the strongest cards in the game, 2 other cards, and then the 4th card it played was a card that automatically destroys all other cards. So it was just funny to see like all of his cards get pulled out, and then all 4 of them get blown up. I laughed because that actually caused me to win. So like that's what I like about the game is it's just insane. Yeah. And like I do the daily missions to get more stuff, to get more cards and upgrade cards. I finally got like my first infinite level card, which is a Carnage card. And what happens when you level it up all the way, it gives you a copy of it, but it has this like prism effect to it, and then you can level that one up. So it's like a status thing to show like I've leveled this card up so much kind of thing, but it's cool. So yeah, I play a lot of that just because it's easy to play like 3-4 games in a row and not take a lot of time.
I mean to play more of it, but now that I can play Vampire Survivors on my phone, I just play that. You have priorities. So I got my priorities.
And then the only other thing I played, and this just falls into my random awful PlayStation Plus game in the moment where I'm using it for trophies. Yeah. There's this game called Monopoly Madness. So
isn't it bad?
I talked about I played that Monopoly game. And Monopoly game was not different. Very good. It's a different.
Yeah, okay. This is different.
It's called Monopoly Madness. It is somehow worse. It is. It's not Monopoly. It is a weird. I don't even know how to explain it. It's not even like a board game. Like you run around this like, little city, and you bid on properties, and then you have to go collect electricity and water and like put it into the properties to level them up. But then other people are doing it too. You can get power.
So it's online.
Oh wow!
So you're playing against other people?
You can play AI too.
Okay.
But then like you can like knock other people's properties down or seal this or do that or whatever. It's slow. It's boring as fuck. It's random. It's just I don't understand how this got made because it's not even.
How
you
old
can't
is
even
it?
play it.
Because I haven't even heard of it.
It's got to be
a couple of years
minimum. More than that, it's probably like 5 or 6 years.
And it's
old.
it's a PS4.
Yeah,
right.
It's bad. And like the trophies, I got it to get some easy trophies and like play through something.
Sure.
They're completely random whether or not you get them because they're all for like getting awards at the end of a match. But the awards the game decides to like give out are completely random. So sometimes you have to play 2 or 3 matches to get a specific one. I'm gonna try to finish it just to get it out of here, but I might give up just because it's so bad. But that's all I've played.
All right. How about you, Matt? What have you been playing?
So I played some more Scorn. I think I have made it to the 4th level. I guess technically they say there's 7 acts total in the game.
Okay.
And so like each puzzle has taken probably between 20 to 30 minutes to get through. So yeah, it's not too so I don't know. I've found myself enjoying it a little more each time because it's kind of like I just like the fact that you're doing nothing but solving a puzzle. It's literally, it's like you're solving a puzzle just to get to the next door.
Because isn't the whole point the character, or whatever we're going to call the thing that you're playing as, is trying to escape the ship that you're on or whatever it is? I'm assuming it's a ship.
Yeah, so I'm like going with the ship because it's got like different components to it, but I don't really even know how to really like superly explain it because it's like he's playing the puzzle seems like to get off of the ship.
Yeah.
But it's also like releasing other people, but they're like dead. So
or you have to like, because at least in the one puzzle I did, you ended up having to murder the person.
So that thing you have to murder, which I don't even know if that was a person. That was like I don't even know what to call that.
It seemed like leftover pieces of an experiment that just maybe happened to be barely alive.
Exactly. So it was. So that part was pretty funny. Like now the part I'm at, I just figured out how to link up these 4 pods to this big arm thing, and it's like opening a new door. I really don't even know how to explain it. It's It's interesting though, because I like the fact
I played, it seems like that, or it's
yeah.
like
So
very...
like, I really have enjoyed the fact that there's no dialogue. There's nobody else on the ship with you so far.
Doesn't
like, no
seem
other,
like it, yeah. No enemy,
yeah. There's no real direction either. It's kind of because like you're saying, like in God of War and games like that. There, what you're doing. Like in this
For
game,
sure.
you literally have no idea what's happening.
It's refreshing.
It is. It's very refreshing. So I played some more of that. So I'm hoping, since we got time off next week, that I can finish it up. I'm maybe hoping I can work through some more of it on Sunday. And then maybe have it finished by the time we talk next, so I can maybe explain. Well, not like give it away too much, but at least tell you guys what the hell is happening the next time we talk about it.
For sure.
Then aside from that, I've played more of Apex. Like I said, the new season's dropped, so I've kind of gotten into that again, which is fine. And Vampire Survivors, which is weird. So like, I played it on the PC, and I've been playing it with an Xbox controller.
Oh, on the PC version you played it that way? Okay.
Yeah. But I've been getting further playing on my Xbox than on my PC, which it doesn't make any sense. Like, because like on my PC, I think I've gotten to like level 10 on like some of the levels. But like on my Xbox, I get to like level 14, 15 before I finally crash out. And I'm like, that's kind of weird, because it's the same.
A little weird.
It's the same controller. Game. It's the same game. There's no, you're not punching anything. You're like literally just running around.
That is weird.
But I mean, for the most point though, I've enjoyed playing that. It's refreshing to play a game like I always say, where you don't have to really use your brain power. You just kind of like doing whatever.
The perfect game for that. You don't have to really think that much at all.
No, like all I'm thinking about is
move it around the map.
How much? Like every time I get a little power up, I'm like, okay, what's gonna do the most damage?
What's your go-to character right now? Like, who are you using? Or like, I'm not expecting you to name the character, but like, what's
the very first guy, the whip guy?
Okay.
Dude, I don't know what it is about him. Like, I think I like it because his whip, which direction it's going to go in. I feel like everybody else that I've opened, like I've unlocked and played as, they feel a little more reckless, while he feels like I know, like when I'm looking to the left or to the right, that's exactly where he's going to swing. So like, I feel like if I have people coming at me, I know to turn to them, he'll swing his thing, I can get a little space.
Yeah, for sure.
I think my other person I like is the person who throws knives.
Okay.
But my go-to guy is the whip guy.
I think is the first person.
Yeah, on console, well, I just unlocked the guy who does the fire. And I'm not a big fan of him because his fire just goes in any direction. It's just like pew, pew, pew.
Yeah.
And it's kind of it's a little more reckless, I guess. So I kind of am not a big fan of that.
The other thing I noticed too, and maybe this probably was changed from when it was a pre-release game, because it was in early access on Steam forever,
right?
And then obviously they did this huge update for its final release. But I've noticed with like certain characters, like there's one character that has the lightning ability, right?
Yeah.
When you start playing as that character, that lightning is like going crazy.
Yeah.
The first round until you get another power up, and then it settles down. I think that's just to make sure you don't die right away.
Die immediately.
If it was like the normal amount that it shoots that lightning, you'd be dead. So
yeah, exactly.
They at least
because
give you
that
a
lightning
chance.
comes in very slowly. Like when you get that as a power up, it's like every 5-6 seconds, I want to say.
Yeah. So I use the garlic dude just because he has that circle, and that's really easy. If I use somebody else, I typically will then hope and pray that I get the garlic. It's like a backup, because that's like one of the best things in the game, because especially for early levels, you can really like mop up the enemies.
So my go-to power-ups are always the garlic and the Bible. Mm-hmm. Because I know then
if you can combo both of those, you have a good run.
Yeah, and that's what I aim for, because I know like once you get to like level, I think it's like level 10 is when the power-ups start becoming more percentage based and less ability based.
Yeah.
So like that's why I try to make sure I get either the garlic or the Bible, and those are the first two I always chase after. That way I know like if I get the horde of bats that come out of nowhere, I
You
can
just
always
run through them
and still be okay. But
have you unlocked any of the other levels yet, or are you still on the grass? Like, I don't know what the names of the levels are. There's like the grass area. There's what I would call like the library,
the study.
The study. Okay, that makes sense.
I'm going with that.
That's very Castlevania. Like the game. Like obviously the biggest influence in this game is Castlevania.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The third level is like it's almost like a sewer or something.
Yeah, so
that's as far
PC,
as I got in the PC version.
I was gonna say on the PC, I've unlocked I think up to level 3 too.
Okay,
and I think I might have gotten to level 4, but I didn't try it.
Okay.
And I haven't played back on the PC yet, but
there's no reason now that I can just play on the Xbox and
yeah,
I could play that version on PC or on my phone. Like literally, there's no reason for me to go back to the Steam version. Did you ever unlock any more characters in the PC version? Because like I had this crazy demon dude that's like really fast, and I'm trying to get him on the Xbox version.
Yeah, so on the PC version, I've unlocked. I want to say there's 8 characters on my PC. Okay. I just haven't I think some of them are still shadowed because I haven't earned the coins to unlock them yet.
Okay.
But I know I've got a lot more characters and a lot more levels on the PC than I have on the
I also played a lot more of the PC version than I have the Xbox version, just because the nature of when they released this was like the worst time. Like they should have done it over the summer.
Yeah, but I mean, the game is fun. I still enjoy it. I mean, it's a great purchase for $4, and it's even better.
Even though it's on Game Pass, I bought it just because I was like, it'll leave Game Pass at some point, and I'll be sad when it happens. So I'm just gonna get it out of the way now. It's $4.
Exactly.
So like, who really cares?
Yeah.
Does that wrap up everything you've been playing?
That's me.
Okay. All right. Why don't we go ahead and move through? We got a good mix of news here. So we'll go ahead and start banging out the different news articles we have this week. The first one, which makes me laugh, is even read it here. That Prince of Persia remake from like, when did they announce that? Was that pre-pandemic?
It's you because I want to. It's
does it say
for sure? It's got to be.
It had to have been because I feel like we talked about it in person. Like that's how long ago.
Like
where like even when they put out that first trailer, it was
I guess they announced it September 2020. It feels like it was longer than that though, right?
I just remember that first trailer we were talking about. Man, something just seems off with
seems wrong. Yeah.
They are saying it's still in development. It's not canceled, but they are refunding pre-orders, which I don't know how many people still had a digital reserve of this game.
Yeah,
it's weird. But it's weird to come out and say the game's not canceled, but we're refunding your pre-orders. Like I'm almost willing to bet that when this game does come out, it is not on like PS4 and Xbox One.
No, I think those versions are probably gone. Whatever existed of it is probably scrapped.
And moving to next
remade,
gen. Maybe they're doing Unreal 5. Maybe.
Oh my God, maybe
that would make sense to me.
It would explain why it's quote unquote not canceled, but this version doesn't just weird. Exist.
I don't know, and like it's also weird to me. Like maybe they're hoping that remaking the first one that it will be successful enough they remake the other two. It's just weird to me to only remake the first one, but. I don't know because it is a trilogy. But that trilogy did go off the rails though. So
it did. I really like the first one. I would hope
exactly. The first one was
just make a new one though. Like why?
It's weird that franchise is just done. Yeah, like it's really weird. There's a fucking movie. How many like even if you think about video games that have had movies, fucking Prince of Persia had a movie.
That game definitely
was not a new game.
That game definitely had like a very like. Steady rise and it peaked and like it was a big deal, but then it disappeared and then now who knows what is going on with this one, but like
it's bizarre.
I don't know.
Mass Effect 5 obviously, or I guess they're calling it Mass Effect 5, but if I were to venture, I think it's just gonna be called Mass Effect when it comes out.
Could be.
It's N7 day, November 7th, so they teased another piece of concept art that had little if people figured out on the internet, it had like an audio log that was something like a conversation between Liara and somebody else.
Yeah. Referencing
again,
maybe Shepard is not dead, which
I mean, again, think about Mass Effect 2. They fucking literally rebuilt Shepard, so like
you were blown out into fucking space, and they brought you back to life.
So,
and then there wasn't like the true quote unquote ending of 3. Like
there's a heartbeat.
Showed like your body, and like suggesting
they show
you could be
like
alive.
Pieces of your body, but there's a clear heartbeat. So
right.
Again, like I this very much like Saints Row, which we're going to talk about because that came up in the news this week.
Oh Lord,
this is kind of, I feel like for Mass Effect, this is their last chance.
They have to prove it.
Like they have to prove it.
It doesn't mean
the
anything
easiest way
anymore.
to prove it is, unlike Saints Row, go back to what people like about the franchise, which is those characters.
Yeah, but the thing is I don't want to play a Shepard again.
I don't think I necessarily do either, but I also don't want to lose
them
those
there.
Characters. Yeah, like you could create another protagonist to join those
Shepard
characters.
Could be in charge.
Or even have some of them there.
Right. Yeah. I wouldn't bring back everybody. I don't want you to just make me the first one again. But
exactly.
You do have to prove it, because
you certainly have to prove it after that last
3
one.
was a step back, and then Andromeda blew the entire thing up.
Andromeda, like, man, that's a heartbreak of a game.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 16 is, according to PlayStation 5 ad, exclusive for PS5 for 6 months. This is I'll believe it when I see it kind of a situation, because look at every other Final Fantasy. Like Crisis Core obviously is on everything, because that's a remake of a very old game. Not very old, but older.
The only thing is, it's like the numbered titles seem to end up on everything at some point.
Yeah.
I don't even necessarily think I consider like 7 Remake a numbered title anymore, but like,
that's like a special project.
Yeah, even 12 showed up on Xbox at a certain point. So 6 months, maybe not true. I think a lot of it depends on when the game actually comes out.
Well,
but yeah, it'll be there someday. It's just 6 months. It's probably more like a year.
Yeah, that seems more realistic, and I agree. It depends on when that game comes out, and I still think and we'll talk about this more the next podcast. We're going to do Game Awards predictions, but I still predict you're going to get a trailer for this, and they're going to give a shit release date, and then that release date will be pushed a couple months.
Of course,
because I think they even said like they want to put out a release date before the end of this year. So, which
remember, as 6 months ago, it was like 90% done or whatever.
Yeah, so maybe it's 100% down them, but they want to sit on it. I don't know.
Well, they're not going to release it anywhere near Crisis Core, so yeah.
No, they're not. Got a couple East news articles I thought was cool, because I always like to see that franchise in the news. Mm-hmm. The PS5 version of East 8, great game, is out. It's very light on what its updates. It does have a 120 frames mode, which is cool if you have a TV that supports that. And it does support like full 4K, because I don't think the original release did. But again, it's a fucking fantastic game. So if you've never played an East game, that is a great one to start with.
Yeah, and I don't know if I even necessarily thought it would have upgrades other than maybe looking a little better. Like,
yeah,
I think it's got some costume stuff too. Like
it's one of those like I'll wait until it's on a discount for sure, but I will pick it up again because I love that game so much.
Great.
So, and then to piggyback off that, East 10, obviously they're going to make a 10th one. Is targeting a fall 2023 release in Japan, which means it'll be probably a spring 2024 release in the West. So here, that lines up with kind of how they release these games. So cool that they're even talking about East 10. So
I'm sure we will hear
more about it.
Yeah.
9, like I said, 9, I'm going to wait until, because they're doing the same thing with 8 that they're doing.
That's what
they're going to do that with 9 in like February, March. And at this point, I only played like 2-3 hours of it. So I'm just going to pick up the PS5 version and just start over.
Yeah, I would once they said that,
it's cool, but I will say like it's different than 8. Like the setting is completely different. So, but it seems really, really cool. There's obviously we've known for a while, like Sony they're putting a lot of money into like live service games. Mm-hmm. One of them apparently is rumored to be a Horizon MMO, is reportedly in the works for as they're teaming up with NC Soft, which I believe those are the Guild Wars people.
Pretty sure I think so.
Yeah. if you're gonna pick one of your franchises that is popular and it would make sense, Horizon would probably be okay fit.
It does have like a big enough established world with established lore that they can just kind of put you in it and don't have to do too much explaining, I guess.
Well, it's like, when you think about other Sony franchises, like Last of Us, there will be a multiplayer like the first Last of Us. That's clearly being worked on.
Right, yeah.
And if they were ever to make something like this, it would be a survival game. It wouldn't be an MMO. So, but this makes sense. Can it scratch the surface? Can anything even come close to Final Fantasy 14 right now in terms of an MMO? So. I don't think so. Like, that seems so wild. But interesting nonetheless. The most ridiculous, crazy news story of the week is just the final like blow up of the situation between Mick Gordon, the producer of the music of Doom and Doom Eternal, versus Bethesda. Obviously, we knew back right when Doom Eternal came out a couple of years ago, they had a huge falling out. There was a big to do about it, but nothing was said on Mick Gordon's front. It was just like, that dude's not on the project anymore, which is a huge bummer because a big part of those two Doom games is that music,
right?
How incredible it is. That guy finally, and I don't know if he like was waiting for a while to have like an NDA expire or something, but he put up a very damning amount of statements. I'm not going to go through them because it's a lot, but very clearly has a lot to say about what happened behind the scenes. He points a lot of fingers at a lot of prominent people at Bethesda, specifically id Software, because that's obviously who makes Doom. Then Bethesda had kind of a shitty corporate response back to him that like it's what you expect a big company to respond back in this type of situation.
Right.
But they're not taking any right now. They're not like going to put themselves in the wrong, but they're not really taking much responsibility for what happened either. So that just seems like it's going to be a huge lawsuit situation. But at the end of the day, those two things, what it boils down to is like, you're clearly not going to see Mick Gordon doing the music for whatever the next Doom game is. And that's a huge bummer.
Yeah.
Because that is such an integral part of what these new Doom games are. So it's a bummer. So this I thought was really cool. This game's been in the works for a long time. It's an indie game. WrestleQuest. I don't know if you've ever looked at this game. Looks fucking amazing,
Looks
right?
awesome. Yeah.
Got a release window of May next year, so it looks amazing. Like it has that
so much
Super
fun,
Nintendo
dude.
pixel art style. Aren't you playing as Randy Savage? I'm pretty sure you're playing as him or a character that's supposed to be him.
Yeah. Like, it's all gonna be like adjacent type stuff for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. It looks fucking amazing. So I've been like loosely following that game for a while, but I was really happy to see it get a release date. Because it's one of those, like, every time I see a screenshot or something, I'm like, when is that going to come out?
Right. Yeah, I remember seeing it a long time ago.
Big, huge, exciting announcement. I mean, obviously, we knew a couple weeks ago Remedy had talked about they're working on different projects, but they have now officially come out and said, we are working on a sequel to Control, like a direct sequel. I assume it'll star the same character. Dan, you and I both know, like, that game was my favorite game of 2019.
Mine too.
Like, it's one of the best games of the last decade. Amazing. If you've never played Control, please play it. It's so crazy.
The right level of like
weirdness,
weird and like spooky type stuff, but it's not a horror game.
Not at all.
Gotcha.
No, it's not like what you would consider like a horror game, but it's got enough like creepy, like spooky stuff. It also has one of like the coolest segments in a video game I've ever played. With the maze where like you have to put on the headset and that song is playing the whole time. You're like running through shit. That part is insane, but it is awesome. Is insane. It's so good. I was upset that you couldn't go back in there when it was over.
It's like they got some like low key metal band to sing a song about the video game.
Yeah, and
then that plays over that sequence.
Well, because you have to.
It sounds very dumb, but it is incredible.
But in game, it has a purpose. Like she has to listen to that song to be able to navigate the maze. So like she has like a headset and she puts on and stuff like, and it's just wild because it's the walls are changing, the rooms are moving around. It's
I never played the DLCs for it because of how they released those. I have the Ultimate Edition.
Yeah, I never went back and did the Ultimate stuff. Maybe I should.
It's one of those things where I'm holding on to that for like when we actually get close to release. I'll probably run through that game again at that point. Because obviously the one thing I'll say about that, when that game did come out, because that game, it kind of came out at an unfortunate time because it really probably should have been a next gen game, but it wasn't. Yeah. So it ran rough on older systems. Yeah. Exactly. But if you get that Ultimate Edition, especially you play it on a PS5 or a Series X or something, it runs amazing. So if you ever played like what I would compare it to, like control wise, if you ever played like PsyOps, the Mindgate Conspiracy, it's a lot of those type of powers, that you can use in addition to just shooting.
You've got your crazy transforming gun. Mm-hmm. And
amazing video.
All the little like side stories that you come across in it are awesome. Yeah, the whole thing is just great. I think
it's one of those too. Yeah, like normally, like for me, it takes a lot for like collectibles or a side story or something to get me intrigued. Every single side story in that game, it also has a depth to it that hooks you.
Well, and the side stories are cool because like you literally don't have to do them, but if you don't, you'll miss out on some of the best stuff in the game.
You'll miss out on some of the weirdest stuff.
The mirror fight, the mirror fight is insane, and like that whole
you fight like a mirror version of yourself.
Yeah, it's so cool.
It's fucking wild.
But you don't have to do it at all. Like you could just
you can totally miss
have to do it.
Yeah, amazing game. So I'm super excited. Take all the time you need. Give me Alan Wake 2 first, obviously, because I'm excited about that. But I want to Control 2 really bad. Yeah, so I'm excited about that. But we can talk about Saints Row because there's two big things about Saints Row. The first thing is that now here we are in November. They finally released their big patch for that game that supposedly fixes like over 200 different issues.
Through the bug list report.
It's ridiculous.
It is a lot.
I told you that game was broken when I played it. So, in addition to this, Volition, and this is the unfortunate part, but Volition, Saints Row is dead. Like it's over. Mm-hmm. They are rolling Volition into Gearbox, which means they're just going to be a support team for Borderlands. I can't think of a worse, but also more fitting fate at this point, though. That's what I was telling a friend. I'm like, the way that they handled the Saints Row thing, like
it's almost like they should have released Saints Row now.
Yeah,
they could have just waited a couple months and released it now.
Somebody had to have come to some playtester must have went to somebody higher up and been like, do you really want to put this out at this? And
I read a good thing that people said that the bug list that came out and it's like, so the QA report finally got leaked because it's just all stuff that needed to be fixed before it even shipped. And
I could see it.
Yeah, I
can see it. The Witcher 3, great game. But a lot of people obviously played it. People love that TV show. It's getting its next gen update. They've been talking about this next gen update for a while. They've been working on it for a long time. Mm-hmm. December 14th, it's going to be PS5 and Series X versions. They haven't really given a lot of details to what entails in this update. I'm assuming it'll just run higher frame rate resolution.
And it'll just come with everything.
Base.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it'll have everything. So I've finished the base. I've never finished the DLCs for The Witcher 3, so maybe I'll finally go back. Again, it's a great RPG if you've never played it. And you don't even need to play the first two, really, to play 3. Well, they have a good like story thing at the beginning.
Play this one and then play the one remake when that comes out.
Yeah, exactly. So, but still cool. Like even that game's getting another next gen update.
That's how that studio. That's how that studio made all of their money, especially after the Cyberpunk shit show, which to be by all accounts is now fixed, and that's cool. But
now is the time to play that game. As I've said before.
They need another cash infusion. Let's re-release Witcher 3 again.
Well, the other thing I'd say, if you want to take a break from your normal JRPGs, there maybe run through Cyberpunk now.
Probably be a good about it too.
Refresher.
My $5 copy of Cyberpunk.
Your $5 copy of that game. I threw this one in here more because I wanted to see Dan's reaction, but the Winter Soldier is joining Marvel's Avengers. I had to double take when I read it because I'm like,
stunned.
The big Avengers game is still getting updated.
Stunned that somehow there are enough people playing that to justify releasing
why isn't
another
a character from Black Panther? Which
they did
had a sequel.
Well, yeah, but the Black Panther stuff had a whole storyline. patch.
Oh, that was already in the game, wasn't it?
That was like a whole story thing. So they really don't need to do that. But like, Winter Soldier's another one that they can just kind of like throw in there. I cannot believe this.
Who is he a reskin of? Do you think?
That's what I was trying to think, because all the rest of them are reskins. Like, he's got to be somewhat close to Captain America in some respects, I would guess. Except he's got ranged with like guns and stuff. But that blows my mind. Like, I thought that game was dead. Like,
I laughed when I saw the article, and I was like, I have to put it in here because I just want to hear Dan's reaction to that. Because like my opinion of the game is it's dead. Like, I would think it's like been a Saints Row situation where it's like there's nothing to do here anymore.
Well, especially because that's Crystal Dynamics. Like, get those people off of this stupid game and get them over to Perfect Dark and Fable. Apparently,
yeah.
They have other things to do. Like, let Avengers die.
The thing I'll say about Avengers, and this surprised me, is like whenever I remember to go into it, I will go into that Microsoft Rewards app on the actual console.
Yeah.
And they have like a reward you can win for playing one of the top 10 Game Pass games every week. That Avengers game is always in that list.
It's because it's free.
And I don't know if it's just people just try it out of curiosity and they're like, ooh, this is bad. Or like people are actually still playing it.
Being a thing where like kids have fun with it, because you do get to be Hulk and jump around and just smash shit. So maybe there's something about that. I don't think
the single player story of the game was not bad.
It was fine.
It's the multiplayer.
That's the only part of that game I liked.
A real lackluster.
Having to rerun the same missions 100 times, like in Destiny. You know what? In Destiny, it didn't bother me. In Avengers, it got boring.
Yeah.
This came to light this week, which I thought was interesting. We've talked about it on the podcast before, but codename Keystone, which is Microsoft's streaming stick. That's what we think it is. Has been put on hold due to high costs. So basically, it's not ready for prime time.
It's kind of what we talked about, where that thing has to get down to $100.
It does, to make it make sense.
Well, and again, it was just another box. Like I told you, like I don't feel like it doesn't need to be another box. It needs to be
it doesn't like you
a stick or a Roku or something that small that can be powered by the TV and plugged directly into the TV. That's what it needs to be.
Because you can look at it this way, like as far as the family of systems, you can have here's your streaming stick at 100. If you want something that can just download games native and play them natively, here's your Series S. Which seems like I like how they're touting right now, like, oh, it's on sale for Black Friday, $250. It's been the price of $250 for the last 2 months, like everywhere I go. So that's just the price of it. Or if you want to be, the high end person, get the Series X. So that really seems to be like where they're trying to go with that family. It's just, again, and I agree with you, I don't think they can hit that price point.
No, and that's okay. And like it's smarter of them to wait until the point where that can happen, which that'll be in the next 5 years.
And I think the technology needs to catch up just a little bit more, because like even playing Vampire Survivors on my phone, the quality can degrade on that. And that's not a demanding game.
Right.
Yeah. So I just think it's a combination of the cost and like the quality just a little bit closer. And I think
and if they can't get it down to 100 or like 130 with a controller, then it's not ready to come out. So that's fine.
Yeah.
This was cool. I still don't understand how this happened, considering Sony paid has a partnership with Discord.
They own part of it.
Yeah. I don't know if they own part of it. They paid for a partnership to have this come to PlayStation.
Yeah.
But now, like, first it was, hey, on Xbox, you can transfer your Discord call, which I do all the time with one of my buddies who just, I guess he's just lazy at this point. He wants to use Discord on his phone. But now you can just pull up whatever servers you're connected to and join in and talk. So if you're on PC or something else, it's been insanely popular with the Halo community. It kind of lined up perfectly with that Halo patch, because I've read post after post on Reddit about how people are just having a great time.
They literally just put Halo Discord on your Xbox. Like that's nuts.
Literally. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I really want it on the PlayStation. So just because then it's unified, Right. Then I can be playing a game on my Xbox, but then you can be playing a game there.
All of your then all of your voice chat is across the major game systems and PC, and like, I'm playing Star Ocean and you're playing Halo, and we're just being a Discord call.
Exactly.
That's amazing. It'll get there. Someday.
I mean, again, Sony paid, so like it's got to be coming at some point, right?
Sony can't ever let Microsoft do something and not at least try to copy it.
Exactly. Here's the good one that I know you're gonna laugh at. Dead Island 2 delayed again.
Fuck this game. Like, fuck the whole thing.
End of April.
Fuck everybody. Like,
but you just want to be the only person that played Dead Island 2
I
10
laugh
years
because
ago.
I even tweeted like, haha, we know it's ironic that we're delaying this game again. It's like, cool. So now you're in on the joke. Like, the whole game's a joke.
Yeah.
And what happens when the game comes out and it's just Dead Island again?
Not great.
And it's just fun.
It's going to be like, yeah.
I don't know. Part of me really wants it to be good, but like, yeah, like you said, part of it wants to be it never comes out. And I'm the last person that's ever played it.
I have literally no faith.
No,
it's going to be good.
That's a prove yourself game, and God help that game if it comes out and it's buggy.
Oh God!
Man. Especially with all the delays.
Imagine if it comes out and it's Saints Row and it's just a shit show.
And then so here's the roadmap.
Don't wish that upon them.
Oh, the Dead Island 2 roadmap. There you go.
That's to me. That's the kiss of death for a lot of games is when they come out and they're broken. Then
hey, Avengers had a roadmap. What are you talking about?
Exactly. Like here's the roadmap to get it to where it should have been. When
Avengers has had a roadmap and it's still kicking. It's releasing new characters.
There you go.
This I thought was really cool. Obviously, Embracer Group owns like half of video games right now, but they put out a survey maybe a month, 2 months ago about Legacy of Kain, a franchise I'd really like to see return. It's been dormant way too long.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks more likely because of its extremely strong fan response that they'll do something with it. My guess is it would be a remake of Soul Reaver or something. I don't think they're going to make a new Legacy of Kain.
No. I think you start. No. I think you start with a remake of that or Blood Omen, and then you.
I would like a remake of Blood Omen.
Yeah.
I sign me up for that. I just recently replayed through that, so I would love that because that's a really fucking.
I think that's a remake. One of those. See if people will buy it, and then you can make it.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm just happy that it seems like that franchise might come out of dormancy after. I think
when Embracer,
it's been 20 years.
Embracer is going to be the kind of company that now that they have all of these licenses, they're going to kick the tires on all of them and see what people care about.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think you're going to see original titles coming out of Embracer Group anymore because they own everything.
Now we're going to talk about I'm going to throw an email in here because we got an email about it. We're going to talk about the real hot button topic of this week.
Ooh,
I'm going to read the email. Last couple of days. I'm going to read the email first and we'll get into it. So this email comes from George from Appleton, Wisconsin. He says, "Hey guys, I was curious if any of you are planning to checking out the new Pokemon games." So what is it? Scarlet and Violet, I think that's what they're called.
Yeah.
From everything coming out, it sounds like there are some very glaring technical issues and a real lack of polish that is just never seen with first-party Nintendo releases. Do you think they were forced to deliver this game this holiday? And is there any way that they can patch these issues? Or do you think that this is a sign of the Switch showing its age? Thanks. So, just to get into it, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet came out. They seem like they are a real dumpster fire.
I'd say they're like a dumpster fire, but they're a mess. Like, they're...
Some a dumpster fire in Nintendo terms. This never happens with first-party
Nintendo. The glitches
Nintendo.
And stuff going around that I've seen so far are wild. Have you seen the one of the guy getting on the bike? Where he immediately grows to like 30 feet tall and then he shrinks and then he grows again.
That's the one that I would point to where I'm like, nuts. What is fucking happening here? Like,
I've watched someone play like the first 45 minutes, and I can tell you that it has a weird feel to it because there's like there's no voice acting, which shocker, not a shocker, but it's not 2022. Really they could do something. Animal Crossing has fake voices. This could have that too.
Yeah.
But there's also like weird stuttering and like just loading screens is like takes longer than it should. Frame rate stuff. Gotcha. The grass looks terrible. Shadows look bad. Like they don't see
characters disappear into the world.
Like
the map and
pop
stuff.
in like textures not loading. It just looks really, really jank. And I had talked about it before that I was kind of excited for this one just because my kid is in an age.
It's different.
It's different. It's a little different.
Yeah. It's refreshingly a little bit different. It leans
on like what Arceus brought in, but then it took a lot of the stuff out apparently. But I was excited because my kid's at the age where she's starting to play more stuff. And like this was going to be one where it's an easy way for me to introduce her to Pokemon because we could play it together.
Exactly.
But now I don't know if I want to bother. Like not for full price.
No.
Yeah,
$120 for the dual pack for this thing does not seem fair.
Right.
I don't think they were necessarily forced to get this out by holiday to sell, because Nintendo's never...
It's Pokemon.
Well, Nintendo's never super really been about, like, this has got to hit this has got to hit this. They just kind of release stuff when they feel like it, when they want to. But
I'd also use the argument, though, it's Pokemon. You can put this out any day, and like even with the glaring issues, doesn't matter.
Well,
people bought it.
A lot of people just think it's a sign that like Game Freak is they're just lazy now, because what incentive do they have to iron all this stuff out if people are just going to buy it?
Yeah.
And if it's going to review, well enough, although some reviews are hitting it pretty hard.
Rough.
IGN even said we're not going to score it for real until we can test the online. And like the problems exist in single player. What do you think they're like when there's 4 people running around? It's gonna be bad.
It's gonna be bad.
Could
is
they
online
patch
working yet, or they haven't turned it on yet?
I don't know yet. I haven't seen anything about that yet.
Okay.
I checked the IGN review and they have not updated anything on it. But could they patch this stuff? Absolutely.
Really depends.
Like they could.
They can, but it really depends on what the issues are at the same time. Like,
but the other thing is do they want to? Do they care?
Do they care enough? Or are they just working on the next Pokemon?
I would hope so.
Maybe there's like one tiny patch where it's just the patch note is improved performance, and that's all you ever see. And then they just never talk about it again. But I definitely think it's a sign of the Switch is being pushed to the limit. Like we're almost at 6 years on a Switch, right?
Exactly, and that's my point. And we've had many discussion on the podcast now of like, I would like the next version of the Switch, something that's just a little more powerful, that can handle a little bit more. I mean, the power base of this system is like what, a little bit better than an Xbox 360, you figure, right?
One.
Portable. You think it's an Xbox One?
I think it's around an original Xbox One.
Okay.
Because if you figure 6 years ago, it's got to be somewhere in that area. But also portable. But the whole point of it was like, it was supposed to be like when it's docked, it's good, and when it's on portable is when it's a little suffers.
Rough. Yeah.
But now we're getting to the point where on docked, it's rough.
Yeah, exactly.
if Pokemon is pushing it, like, and we all know what Pokemon looks like, and we know how big the world is and all this stuff. If Pokemon is pushing it, what is Tears of the Kingdom going to do to this thing?
Exactly. That's what has me worried. Because, like, I'll say, like, about the original or Breath of the Wild, like, it ran very well, except for one area of the game. And ironically, it's where you get the Master Sword.
Of course.
For whatever reason, that area between the forest and the lighting that's going on, it would just tank that frame rate. They never were able to get that patched.
So you're talking about something that
rock solid.
But you're talking about something that 6 years ago was probably towards the top of what the system could do. And now I'm supposed to expect the sequel 6 years later,
where you're now flying around through the air.
Now I'm going through the sky, and there's different islands, and everything's got to be loaded.
That's what scares me. What scares me. I hope for the Nintendo polish for that game. I really, really do.
I feel like there's more effort put into that game for sure.
I feel like
I don't think they would ever let a game like that or Mario or a Mario game.
You don't put out a Zelda every year,
right?
You don't put out
a Mario every year, and we just had Sword and Shield not that long ago.
Also, too, the thing that's crazy if you think about it, like, we're 6 years into the system, there hasn't been a Super Mario Odyssey 2. What are they holding that for?
Yeah, but like, remember, aside from the Wii, they don't really release more than one 3D Mario like per system. And you had 64, you had Sunshine, Wii, you had Galaxy and Galaxy 2. So it wasn't even like it was like a new game. It was the second Galaxy.
Well, remember, Odyssey famously did not hit Switch launch. It hit, and you could loosely say the launch window, but
it was probably better for it.
Absolutely.
But I don't think those two games, like Mario and Zelda, I don't think they'd ever release them in a state like this Pokemon.
No, game, no. I can't remember a single one of those.
Pokemon's also worth, a few $1 billion. Mm-hmm. So why can't they spend some of that money on making these games run properly
a little bit better.
Yeah, it's weird. I think the only positive thing to come out of this is I think there's enough backlash where Nintendo is going to want to patch it some way, at least to smooth out some of it. But I don't think it'll ever get to a point where it's not janky, in certain ways.
It just seems to be what it is. I threw this news article in there just because it was kind of a kind of a situation. The franchise Risen, which had three I think there was 3 versions or 3 different games on the 360. One of them was a pirate RPG, because that was the one I played.
Yeah,
maybe it was like Risen Dark Waters or something. Then actually, now I think about, the third one was called Titan Lords. I never played that, but they are doing, I think it's a remaster. I don't think it's a full remake, but they're doing a remaster in January of the first Risen, which is really bizarre because
super weird that there's enough relevance for that game to be.
That was about 10 years ago for the last one. Yeah, and I'm kind of interested because I never played the first one. I only played the second one, which was the pirate one. So I think it's cool, but it's just a weird out of the past.
Sometimes weird one-off RPG things like that are not bad. Like, you're talking to a person who played a lot of Greedfall, a lot. I finished it.
Yeah, I have that. I actually own that physically. And
shockingly, it's not great, but it's not a bad game at all. And when it hit Plus, I was like, you know what, we'll give it a shot. And it hooked me enough to play through the whole thing. Yeah. So sometimes
I've looked at it.
Random game like that is not bad. So Risen coming back is interesting, but
it's very weird. But I'm interested enough that I'll probably pick it up when it's discounted.
Just on Xbox, or is it on everything?
No, I think it's on PS4, PS5. I don't think it's so demanding.
You don't think
it's not on the older.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on everything from my understanding. So I just the article I put in here is the pure Xbox,
right?
Or whatever, but it's on everything.
Cool.
Because that's just happened to be where I first saw it. So
last news article,
and we're not going to go through all of it because this will be a precursor to next episode. Next episode, we're actually going to sit down and pick our choices for the nominees for the Game Awards, who we think is going to win. We'll do some predictions on what they're going to show for announcements.
Yeah, that'll be our Game Awards special.
I should at least mention it. So the nominees were announced. I think God of War leads with 10 nominations, which, again, not surprising.
Weird. Yeah.
The only thing I'll read, which I thought was interesting, Game of the Year. So I'll read what those are. I'm not going to go through all the other categories, but so for Game of the Year, the nominees that we have are Plague Tale Requiem, which a lot of people really like that game. Elden Ring makes sense. God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Stray, which I think is really cool. I will tell you right now, early prediction, it won't win.
No.
And Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
That's a weird one that made the list. I think they felt like they had to pick a Nintendo thing just to.
I think so.
Another Sony title or something. But
yeah, exactly. I'm really happy that Stray's in there. I know it's not going to win, but I really enjoyed that game. So, like I said, we'll go through them in full detail next week, and we'll pick our. We'll go ahead and pick our
predict what the show might happen, and there's always weird stuff that happens at the show, maybe the director of A Way Out goes fucking nuts again. That would be great.
Maybe Kojima's there and announces Death Stranding 2. I don't know. It could be.
He'll have some.
Could be.
We'll talk about it next time.
It's the Jeff Keighley show. Jeff Keighley and Friends, as we like.
Yeah, that's what we like to call it.
So that wraps up the news. We can go ahead and jump into emails because we got quite a few of them. Obviously, you guys got one of them, down today, but we got some good ones here. I will go ahead and jump in. First one comes to us from Chris from Pasadena, California. He says, hey guys, this question is for Kyle specifically. Have you run Halo Infinite after the last winter update? I kind of talked about this already and given my thoughts, but I will just say once again, obviously I have played it. I think the winter update's a good start to fixing that game finally. So I will have more to say next time I record because I am going to actually mess around with Forge. I want to see that Blood Gulch map really bad. So because that's cool. And I'm really hoping if anybody listens to this podcast that makes maps at a real good level, please remake Valhalla because that is my favorite.
That's Halo a great level too. Yeah.
So many memories playing on that map.
I always liked what was the hallway one from the first game? Long shot.
lawn shot, I think.
Something like that. It was just a hallway.
Something
like that. That's for whatever reason, man. I was super
good. It had
two
levels to it, right?
Yeah, there was some like there's a little bit up and down,
but it was
like,
basically a hallway.
Like 2 long hallways. I love that one just because it was close quarters and it would get really. It was like nuts. It was real itchy trigger like level because like you turn a corner, and somebody be standing there.
Yeah, it would get nuts for sure. That's a good one. Next email, we got a return email. We had this person emailed in last episode of the podcast talk about the God of War situation at his GameStop store. We're going to go ahead and read his response. This comes to us once again from Grant from Redacted, so we're not going to reveal his location for his safety. Hey guys, just following up on my last email. The midnight event I had went exactly as expected. I saw about 15 total pickups. I didn't do anything too crazy, but I followed Dan's advice and putting out the table, and he wrote that in quotations.
Right.
As yes, all stores still have that promotional table you can use from time to time. I found that funny.
Just a small,
that's
cheap,
never going to go away.
Plastic table with like the extendable legs. Like you would know it if you saw it. It's at every like
the thing you pull out at Thanksgiving when you have more people come to eat.
Yeah, just a tiny little thing
one of
you
those.
Can throw up.
Yeah,
throw
exactly.
Stuff on it and
throw stuff on
it. It folds down and gets put away.
I spent under $20 on soda, had some of those cheap lunch-sized bags of chips, and had a PS4 Pro hooked up with the original God of War game from 2018. My district leader stopped by and was at least pleased with the setup, but of course, wished the turnout to be larger. I'm thankful for this podcast. You guys really helped me out. I hope I don't become the de facto midnight store now, but this did get my DL off of my back. So we're happy that you wrote back and that it, I guess, went.
I'm happy. I'm happy it went as well as he could have expected it to go.
Yeah.
Like 15 total pickups in this day and age seems about right. To be fair, considering
for a game like that,
for God of War, which every time you turn on your PS5 the past month has said, "You want to download it now? You want to install it?" Exactly. So like people who really cared enough probably just did that. But I knew the DL would stop by. I knew he would, just because. You're the only one, do it up kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And like, yeah, I'm glad you were able to pull off enough just to get the DL to be like, yeah, you did what you could kind of a thing. It is probably going to backfire a little bit because he probably is going to become the midnight store. But the good news is on that, like, there's not going to be many more of those going forward. No. Like, I don't. No.
I'm surprised they still have them.
I don't. Yeah, like what would another game?
I told you, the one in my area that I go to from time to time, they had one midnight this year, or at least this season, and it was Pokemon.
Yeah. And I know there were a couple around here that did it too, but yeah, if there's anything to take away from that, Grant, you might get lucky, and there just might not ever be another one again, just because.
Maybe.
I can't
What's
imagine.
The next game? I'm trying to think of what the next, maybe Zelda? Like, what would the next big, like, that would bring out people? Because Nintendo games specifically are always going to bring some sort of midnight crowd because
they bring specific
the eShop.
People.
Yeah,
those
very
people
much so.
Want a physical copy of a Nintendo game. They don't like to use the eShop, and those that do usually have a bad experience downloading the game on the eShop,
or it doesn't work immediately when it's supposed to. And
exactly. Yeah. But of all of the three major consoles, Nintendo fans want a physical copy of that game almost time and time after.
And Zelda might end up being the next one, but at least with the Zelda one, again, like, just follow the blueprint, man, by spending less than $20 on stuff that when it's left over,
I guarantee you there'll be merch when that game comes out. They're going to show up in game stores like shirts and hats.
You can go nuts and just
like
put
little
Zelda
sword
stuff,
pens and stuff. Yeah,
Nintendo
all
stuff
that on
everywhere. Yeah, you can make that.
And you'll be
but I'm glad it worked out, and I'm glad that at least the DL was pleased because I know how that can go. So,
all right. Next email to us also comes from another GameStop employee. This is the one that I've been most excited to read because we've been talking about it all week just for a certain part of the email. And you'll know what it is when I say it. So this comes to us from Fred from, again, Redacted, so for his protection. Hey all, current manager here, and I was curious, what is the most ridiculous thing your DL had you do during the holidays? In my district this holiday season, my DL wants someone to wear a Santa hat and stand near the door handing out flyers, but especially wants us to push GPGs on pre-owned. He's come up with this idea and gotten approval that we can carry around a pennied out game. So for instance, we have a ton of Madden 2012 copies that he had us save that whenever the employee I have doing this is allowed to carry one of these discs around and snap it to show that even breaking the game disc in front of us doesn't void the guarantee. I find this utterly ridiculous.
Mhm.
I know we are pushing anything and everything that is profit, but this is just embarrassing. He's codenamed this Santa hat position as the GPG elf. Any advice or stories of anything similar?
This is insane.
It's
Like-
insane.
Makes no sense.
I laughed out loud when I read the GPG elf. So.
Well, the biggest problem I have with the concept of it is it doesn't make sense in this fact that so this person is just supposed to be standing on the floor selling a GPG to someone who might not even be buying a pre-owned game. Like I don't understand that. Like so.
Exactly. Like
GPG selling should be at the register where it is an
be.
add-on for something you're buying.
Exactly.
So to have someone walk around and with loose copies of Madden 12 like what in their pocket or like a Santa bag.
I mean, I would assume.
A Santa bag.
I would
look
assume
at this. They stamp it. And then being like, hey, if you do this in front of us, we'll give you another one. But
well, like you can even do that.
But that was always the joke.
It.
That was always the joke we would tell people to try and sell them. Was like, yeah, you can break it in half, bring it back. Nobody breaks
now
their
we
shit
hit the
in
point
half.
that we're literally doing it.
Yeah, but nobody does that. It's not like no one's actually going to buy a pre-owned game, break it in front of you, and then be like, haha, give me another one. Like that's the joke is like, oh, you could do that, but to have someone on the floor do it doesn't make any sense. If you're going to do it anywhere, it should be at the counter. But like, hey,
should be at the register.
You're buying a pre-owned copy of Star Ocean, just for example. Hey,
what's that going to be like vacuuming at night? You'd be vacuuming that shit up. How many you fucking broke all
just
day?
Over there,
you know what I mean?
Just have him stand over there breaking them in half.
Fucking
somebody
graveyard.
comes up and is like, "What is that guy doing?" Oh, it's like, "Oh, he's proving the GPG guarantee."
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It would make more sense to have him at the counter, be like, "Hey, man, just even if you did this, like you don't even have to break it to make it a point. Like you could take a knife and cut a line in it or something."
And just
even
put it in
like
a
this
case to show it or display it. Yeah.
Not even. Like you could, if you want to demonstrate it, you could do it at the counter. Be like, hey, man, even if you did this, you take out a knife and you do that to it, we'd replace it. That makes more sense during the actual transaction, especially over the holidays where people are coming in to look or they're like looking for, Timmy wants whatever. I need this. My, Timmy wants a Five Nights at Freddy's plush if they still carry those, or it's probably Among Us now.
That makes sense, yeah.
But like, I'm supposed to stop them and be like, hey, if you buy a disc from us, break like that. That's so dumb.
It's
you and I talked about
GPG Elf.
We did the Santa hat stuff. I didn't mind that so much just because.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's something different, and it's the holidays. Fine, whatever. But in terms of like, did we ever have something similar? We talked about it before. It was the person who had to stand next to the iPod case.
The iPad.
Go over, stand. Literally, don't leave the 6-foot section at the front of the store, and your job is to only tell people that we sell iPhones and iPads and iPods and stuff. And you were supposed to like pull people over to this section, which in our store was literally a section that was just that. And maybe
if
like
I remember correctly, it was on the other side of our cash rep, like not at the front of the store. So like it's even more awkward because it's like, okay, this person's going to come in. They got to walk into the store a little bit before that person that's standing there goes, "Hey, buddy, come over here."
When it was there, you got to be halfway into the store for it to work. And then eventually they moved it to the front, and then like first the 6-foot section. But again, that was like the dead section of our store because I think it was just that and like. Cricket was probably over there for a little bit, and
that then 10 was over there,
and that 3 feet of headset display boxes or something. But I don't know. That's the kind of thing where the other thing is like, who's getting hours to do this?
Right?
You got I get your shift today. Finally, I got an extra 4 hours instead of keeping the store organized or helping customers find what they need.
Wasn't that what we just ended up using that for?
I never used it for what they said it was for. They always wanted you to park somebody at the front and like have them hand out flyers. I only ever did that if it was a holiday hire person who was like incompetent. Like if they couldn't do anything else, like even put games away properly, this is your job. You're to stand up here and do this.
You can go hand out.
But at the very least, like you should be cleaning the store, straightening the store because it's going to get destroyed. It always would. The walls would be destroyed, but. Man, GPG Elf, that's a new one. And I'm kind of surprised that our DL didn't come up with it because he was that kind of person.
Surprised. That would be something he totally he would have with.
This is the kind of thing where like I would have got this idea if I was still working there and then told him about it. He'd be like, that's the greatest idea I've ever heard. Oh, I'm going to get everybody a GPG. Maybe I'll make him a name tag that says GPG Elf. We'll get him a little pointy ears and some boots.
Yeah.
He would have blown out with the water. It would have been intolerable.
It would have been for sure. Another GameStop email we have from another manager. This comes to us from Tyrone from Redacted. Hi all, wanted to reach out as this is my first year as a store manager, recently promoted. I actually had this podcast recommended to me by someone else that works for GameStop. My question is this is my first year as a store manager running Black Friday. I've only been here for 2 years, so I haven't really seen what it's like too much. What would be your tips for surviving from a manager standpoint? Thanks. I know what you're going to say. I'm just going to mention it and I'll let you go into more detail. Organization, handing out the numbers, numbering stuff. If there's anything, and I honestly, I haven't even looked at any Black Friday ads this year for anywhere. I need to. But if there's any of those things that are the doorbusters to bring people in that they're going to maybe line up for, which I don't know, are people lining up in 2022?
Maybe they are now because it's finally the first time you can actually really do it again.
Maybe, yeah. It might be crazy this year. I don't know. I know I'm going to be sitting in my house not doing Black Friday.
I ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, for sure.
I ain't going anywhere. I don't have to work. I'm going to be playing God of War.
Yeah, but I'm not doing anything important. But
no, I did it 1 year. I'll never again, as a customer, never again. But that would be the most important thing I would say. And I know you'll go into more detail on it, but have a number system, go out, speak to each person that's in line. That way it's organized and you don't just have chaos when you open the doors and the people come in.
Get there. Yeah. So the plan for that is
I'll turn it to you.
You're the manager. You're probably opening. You're going to get there early. Scope the line. Yeah. Have tickets ready for let's say you have 6 PS5s. This is an example. You have 6 PS5 bundles, we'll say. Maybe they're doing something like that, right?
That makes
sense. You make 6 tickets, you write PS5 number 1, PS5 all the way up to 6, and you go out and anything else that might come up, right? Remember they used to DSs and stuff.
3DSs, now controllers, probably Switch or something.
Yeah, whatever. Anything that you've got limited amounts of, make tickets. You literally go outside, you'll have somebody else there in the store, but 15 minutes beforehand, first person in line, hi, how are you? What are you here for? You have them tell you what they're there for. And if it's a PS5, you give them a ticket. You say, hold on to this. Bring this to the counter when you're ready. You don't have to. In theory, you would want to maybe be this is only good for 30 minutes or something like that, just to ensure that
you don't want them to leave.
You don't want them to leave and come back later and just make a shit show of it. But and then also be okay, great, you're here to get the PS5. Is there anything else you want, like a controller or whatever? And then write that down with it. This is your ticket. Bring it to the front and we'll have everything ready. That way they can also still shop around, which is good for you because maybe they want to buy more stuff and not rush to the register to buy anything else. So that's step number 1. Step number 2, along with organization, is if let's say, for the sake of argument, let's say Madden is $20 and you feel like you're going to sell Madden, have a ton of it at the front counter behind you where you can grab it and give it to them. Don't put it in a locked drawer. I don't care what the rules are about locked drawers or something. Be smart where you put it, but make it accessible so it can be bam, 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 bam. Another thing is...
I was going to say, I don't think we ever locked drawers on Black Friday just because it was so busy.
We didn't often lock drawers, period, because we weren't idiots.
Well, I know that. I know that.
But again, we also had a closed cash wrap where you couldn't go in from either side.
Exactly.
So to get into our drawers would have been difficult for anyone to do. Another important thing is, there's going to be times where it's busy, and there's going to be times where you've got 4 people working. So it's you, maybe one other person who's been there a while, a new person, and then somebody else who kind of gets it. Know everybody's strengths and know where to put them, and try to be you don't leave this. You don't go beyond. If you've got the new person who's incompetent, you stand at the front door, you hand people flyers, and you tell them, just make sure they know where stuff is, know what's on sale. I used to give them the flyer and just be read this front to cover, multiple times. I want you to know what stuff is. So when people ask you, you can tell them where it is. I never rang up on Black Friday because it was easier for me to work the line, what the line would eventually grow in the store.
Yeah.
So I would go, and as Kyle was ringing somebody up, and as the other guy was ringing somebody up,
the number one ringer.
Yeah, you were always register 1.
That was fine.
Somebody else was register 2, and then it's me going down the line, like, "Hey, what are you here for?" And give them, like, they'd show me their flyer. I go grab this stuff up, put it on the counter, and just be like, "This is for that person," and then go next.
Yeah.
Plus, that way too, if somebody's like, "Oh, I'm here, I want to use PS4," well, I got to run to the back for that. So then I can run to the back, grab it, and come back out. Also, since I'm generally the one who knows the most of what's in the store in inventory and like what's going on, I can field one-off questions on the floor a lot quicker than other people. Because Black Friday to me was always about efficiency. Kyle, these are the 3 games this person wants. Ring them up, ask them for GPGs. Do they have a card? Yes. Would you like to sign up for one? No. Okay, fine. Goodbye. I never really gave a damn about metrics on Black Friday or Saturday for that matter.
There's no reason to.
I mean, other people will tell you there is, and other people, I was a different manager than a lot of people where they make their living on selling people pro cards and stuff. I didn't care, man. I cared about customer loyalty and getting people to come back and spend money. Like, for a long time, we had like those pro and basic cards. Remember, there was a time where I was told you, I'm like, sign everybody up for basic. I don't give a shit. You're reserving a game, you get a basic card, and it's easy.
Because that was easy to transition them.
Then they're a member.
If they wanted to.
Yeah. But it's about efficiency and knowing people's strengths, knowing people's weaknesses, knowing when the next person comes in, so that you can tell someone, go sit down for 30 minutes or swap people out. Like, I'm not going to make Kyle register for 8 hours. But the other thing too is if you do this ticket system and you're efficient within that first hour, it will die. It will die hard because the thing about a GameStop or even like a Best Buy or whatever is a lot of people assume they have to be there immediately to get the best deal. And then if they're not there, they're at a different store. So maybe you'll get some trickle effect, but then it's going to die off.
And then it becomes a steady day.
And then it picks up and it's just a really busy, normal day kind of a thing. You're running out of stuff. Like, that's the other thing too. Is like, I know they hate it when you do it. If you run out of something, pull displays for it. Like, no, we don't have it. Like, don't give people the chance to bring empty boxes and shit up at the counter. That always pisses me off.
There's just no point.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Thing I was going to throw in there too, and like I don't know if this is what it's like in 2022, but at least towards the end, from when I was there, especially that last Black Friday, that Saturday was busier. So maybe prepare.
The weekend was actually busier.
It's a busy weekend all around, but maybe be prepared for that Saturday to be heavier.
Make sure you have someone closing on Friday who is a strong closer, if possible.
Yes,
someone like who I would have closed.
I know exactly who,
because he wouldn't allow it to be garbage when he left.
Yeah,
so
not at all.
But that's where you play off of that too. Where like, and also like he and I probably didn't need to overlap very much. Just because he was a lifer the way I was for a long time. So
pretty much,
yeah. So that's a lot of it is knowing your strengths, and then if you like your team, you could be a better manager than I am and bring them stuff. I brought food sometimes. Like I think I brought like
I think you did for Black Friday.
Yeah, I would bring like a big like ham and cheese tray or whatever or some shit. Just so like people have something to eat, something to drink. Just because
for sure
you're gonna need to take and let people take 10 minutes when they need to take 10 minutes. Like go in the back and or something, because that day it's hectic, but I never really thought it was terrible. We never really had problems. Like most people assume like if it's a doorbuster and it's an hour later, you can tell people like, I'm sorry, those were gone in 5 minutes. Like those were gone before I opened the door, because we do a ticket system here. Ticket system, like seriously, like Tyrone, ticket system is the smartest thing you can do.
Smartest thing you can do
by far.
Like,
because it gets you ahead.
Makes sense.
You're ahead of the game.
Yeah. For sure. But good nonetheless. Good luck.
Let us know how it goes.
Yeah, let us know.
I'd like to know how busy you are.
For sure.
Like any GameStop manager who's working Black Friday, I would love to know
what is it
how
like
busy you are, what people came in for, and like what your peak times were. That's what I really like to know now, because
I'm not going to a GameStop on Black Friday. So
hell no.
But I'd be really curious to see what it's like in 2022. So, our next email comes to us from Paul from Cincinnati, Ohio. It says, "Hey, Gain, I was curious what you guys think about the Game Awards. I've been watching them every year since they were on Spike, and well, they've had their ups and downs over the years. I've quite enjoyed the current contemporary treating it like it's the Oscars style. Was curious what you all think, and do you watch them?" I mean, I'm sure you're the same way, Dan. I watch them every year.
Yeah.
I have since they were on Spike. There was like a weird year or two where they did this like just terrible, absurdly way too long stream.
Remember when they tried to make it like
Grand Theft Auto
edgy,
came out?
And they had like, I think Joel McHale came in and like made fun of gamers the whole time, and it just had a really bizarre tone.
That was the same year that they did like this thing that was the music of Grand Theft Auto 5, and it was literally like an 8-hour stream. Like it just kept going.
Yeah.
And I was like, this needs to end.
No.
And then all of a sudden they like reined it in and they turned it into what it currently is, which I think is its best iteration.
It's the best iteration.
Like the Oscars.
I do think it's a little bit pretentious because
for sure.
I think they overplay it to the point where it's like, come on, guys, it's video games. Let's be real.
They also love hitting that world premiere button.
But that's why I watch. I love
why I watch
world premieres. I like to be excited by stuff. I like seeing an announcement at the Game Awards for fucking Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 and going, are you fucking serious? And then for them to be like, that's a Switch exclusive, and you go, hold up, what? Like this thing's finally coming back and it's Switch only. What in the hell happened?
Exactly.
So like that's what I like about it. That's the most fun part. I could it's kind of a hot take. I could give a shit about the awards. Like we'll talk about it more in a couple weeks, but like they're predictable as hell and they're kind of boring.
They are. They are kind of boring.
And like we said, it's, kudos to Jeff Keighley for taking it over and making it what it is, because it's just the Jeff Keighley and Friends hangout show, and it's fine.
But that's fine. That's fine.
What I
have nothing against Jeff Keighley. I think he does a great job with it. So
I think without him, this kind of stuff, like just games journalism and stuff, as a whole, is nowhere near what it would be.
Where it is, and also like you can make fun of the Mountain Dew Doritos, like people like to with Jeff Keighley, but he generally has a passion for it.
He loves games. He loves people in the industry.
He's a person that loves games. Mm-hmm. So remember the best moment that they had at the Game Awards, at least for me, that I think was a couple years ago, because obviously not all these people are the heads anymore, but when they had Phil Spencer, Sean Layden, and Reggie come out.
No, we're just like, hey, what's going on, man? We love you. We love each other. Crazy. Yeah.
All three of these people on the same stage. Like you would never see that.
No.
That was really cool. Mm-hmm. So stuff like that. There's stuff like that. It's always cool. But then again, as you do and everybody, we watch it for the premieres, because even in a year where the premieres are terrible, because there have been years where it's like, wow, that was kind of lackluster. There's usually one thing that you just have no idea.
I want to say even last year, I was kind of like, nothing really happened. But
there's always at least one.
There's always one thing that is just so out of left field that you're like, okay. Or you get, a weird.
Was last year the year they announced the Wonder Woman game? I feel like that was last year. So maybe we'll hear about that this year.
Because Rocksteady always tries to do something.
So I'd be curious. I'd like to hear more about that.
But or you get the weird. Here's 10 minutes of Death Stranding, and it's just oil people, and you're like, what the fuck is going on?
I love that. So I know.
But like that is what makes it cool, because it could be anything, and then stuff starts to trickle out afterwards, and I like the spectacle of it. Again, the awards are kind of whatever. They make up stupid awards I don't care about, like influencer.
They do that too.
I could give two shits about those.
I don't give a shit about that.
Very much so.
Admittedly, there are people I like to watch play video games, but typically the ones that are like the ones that they nominate are people like I really just could care less about that person, or all the esports shit. I get people are into esports, man. I am not. But
I'll say the one year when they first started doing the influencer, because it was like a couple of those people are like, I don't give a shit about these people, and then like Jeff Gerstmann was in there, and that was cool.
Maybe that's because it's Jeff Keighley and Friends. Wink.
It was that specifically. Remember that video where he and Dan Reichert went on like the roller coaster playing the 3DS?
Oh yeah.
I think that was the reason why, because that was pretty crazy. So. But, it's cool to see that every once in a while. But
luckily, they kind of skip that stuff. Like, I'm more interested in I mean, the bigger rewards, I guess, but it's all premieres.
Yeah.
It's good that we have
that's
them. It would be less fun if they did not exist.
For sure. We will talk a lot more about Game Awards stuff.
Yeah, we'll break down the whole thing.
For sure. Yeah. Make our predictions, talk about maybe what might have a world premiere, what we'd like to see.
Yeah.
So, let's see here. The next
email. Kyle, real quick about it.
Go ahead.
About the Game Awards. You think Elden Ring will win most anticipated game third year in a row?
I mean, the game is out.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. Maybe it's a surprise entrant.
How about most anticipated game, and then they throw it in there as for the DLC or something dumb like that.
Elden Ring again. Yeah,
I can see that. That I can see.
Just as a joke.
Or hey man, let's just start hyping up Elden Ring too, even though that hasn't been announced.
It's got to be. Yeah, but people want it. It's anticipated.
There you go.
Oh, they'll make it. They're gonna make it.
Of course.
Next email we have comes from Steve from Denton, Texas. He says, "Hey all, been listening to the podcast throughout most of it, and I was curious on something. Being that you are no longer GameStop employees, so you don't have a discount. Where do you all typically buy games from? Do you have a favorite place, or do you just kind of bounce around?" For me, it's honestly a cross between Best Buy and it's mostly Amazon, but lately, and I think I've talked about it a little bit on the podcast, like Amazon's been fucking up orders that I've had for months. So at last minute I've had to do like a Best Buy order. I know when I first left GameStop back when they had that stupid, I don't even remember what it was called. What was that rewards program called that Best Buy had that was like the greatest thing where you get like 20% off?
Gamers Club
games. You remember that?
Something. Yeah, it was
Gamers Club
nuts.
Unlocked, I think, something like that. That thing was amazing, and I used that until they realized it was too big of a discount.
Yeah.
So, because I used that through its end, that was an amazing thing. I used that for a long time, like at least a year and a half. That I bought everything, like every game at Best Buy for that like year and a half.
Yeah,
and then they shut that down. For me, it's Amazon just because of ease of use. Like I don't really like having to run out like the day of it, and I'm not the kind of person that, like, oh, I have to play this game at this minute it launches anymore. I'm not really that person.
Yeah.
Whereas like a lot of people, you know, you can get it digitally, you can preload it, whatever. But that's just not really my style anymore. Because I'll be honest, by the time that game is dropping at 11 o'clock or midnight, like I'm thinking about going to bed. Yeah. I'm not thinking about playing 3 hours or something.
Nope.
So
for sure,
for me, it doesn't really matter. But it's a mix between those two. Once in a while, like if I get that Amazon situation, maybe Walmart comes in with a clutch and I get a game from there.
Walmart's in the rotation.
That's been okay.
Yeah.
Walmart's in the rotation. Sure. Walmart's more in the rotation when they're having those crazy clearance
sales.
Exactly. So, but I'd say it's a mix. Like I still do buy games from GameStop every once in a while. Especially like I also don't trade in much anymore, but like for example, this year I traded in Saints Row because I fucking hated that game, and that was a good situation. Then I got the Corey out of that. So, but yeah, that's my answer. Amazon, Best Buy, it's a rotation.
Yeah, I bounce between.
I don't know if you have anything to add.
I bounce between anywhere. Like it depends. Like Best Buy, I tend to check more often than not because they tend to be the ones where I can get a steelbook. I'll check that all the time. Like Crisis Core, I knew it was going to have something, right? And then they were like, we have a steelbook, and then they immediately sold out of like the PS5 with steelbook, so I just bought the PS4 one with steelbook. And then the day I go to pick it up, it's like, can I get a PS5 copy instead? Because it's the same price. But
it's gonna be the same, steelbook.
It tends to be like where
I'm a sucker for steelbooks.
I'm a sucker for promotional items that still exist. Like Nintendo games will have pins at GameStop, so I go to GameStop for those. I still know people at GameStop, so like when that Fire Emblem Special Edition thing came out, I immediately texted him and I was like, "Is this in the system yet? No, okay, keep checking, and when it is, move this to that, and I'll come back in and I'll fix it." So stuff like that. Amazon, if it's Amazon's where I go to look for like games that have been out for a while.
Yeah, they always because they're just trying to get rid of stuff that's in their warehouse.
Something I'm trying to find after the fact. Like, you know what? I bought right before this podcast started was I finally bought a copy of that Cooking Mama game on Amazon because I don't know if you saw that thing today.
Yeah.
They lost that lawsuit, so that game's done.
Yeah,
it's gone.
Yeah,
it's
I should probably buy that.
Yeah, and I went to look on Amazon. And it was $30, and I was like, I got to get it now because
it's going to go up.
Third party sellers are going to get a wind of that and buy them up and flip them. So okay, if you're a collector and you don't have Cookie Mama Cookstar yet, not
there
that
you go.
one.
Well,
Not,
that's
not you need Cookstar, dude.
Cookstar is the
Switch.
most recent one. Yeah.
But they lost a lawsuit where they didn't have rights to actually release that game.
Yeah,
so they're all getting pulled
by that.
I'm
gonna do.
So
that
I bought that today. But again, that's on Amazon where it's something's been out for a while. Walmart.com I tend to not use just because that site is
only
mess.
if I know it's a brand new game.
I will also check Target.com occasionally, but they tend to be the same as Best Buy. And also I work across the street from a Best Buy. So if I can reserve it for pickup, and then after work I just run over there and be like, yo man, scan this and give me my thing and I'm out. And then Best Buy is also the place I use for Amiibo now, just because I can pre-order it here early and pick it up. But that's GameStop is in the mix, but it's mostly Best Buy, to be fair.
Yeah, Best Buy has been pretty clutch on this stuff. How about you, Matt? Anything?
Realistically, for me, it's Walmart and GameStop.
Yeah.
I don't look for games on Amazon probably as often as I probably should. Because I don't really go hunting for games a lot of times, unless it's something I legitimately want to play. Then I actively will try to find it. But a lot of the times the stuff I buy is just kind of spur of the moment. So I go to GameStop to kind of just browse, and normally if I see something that's pre-owned at $15, I'll be like, oh snap, let me go ahead and snag this,
Yeah, if you want to browse, GameStop is really kind of the only place left to do that. Yeah,
exactly.
Best Buy is barren if you try to look through the game section.
Yeah, every time I go to the Best Buy I have near me, it really does feel like it's just not loved. You know what I mean?
I don't think that section matters to them anymore. I think it's all phones and computers and
TVs,
appliances and TVs and stuff.
So, I mean, for me, I don't really look at Best Buy for anything. I know limited run drop stuff at Best Buy, and
they have some sort of partnership.
I may if I'm in the area and I got time, I'll go to Best Buy just to kind of browse. But I don't really do much buying at Best Buy. I try to find deals just when people say something about them. I know GameStop has been running Black Friday deals, so I jumped online and I got a copy of the Cowabunga collection for $20.
Yeah,
it's a good deal.
And I was like, dude, that's fantastic. So I was like, let me go ahead and snag this. But then nothing else really sparked my interest. So I bought that and I was done. You know what I mean? So it's
well,
I just kind of feel
I think that's part of it. I think it's where we live in a time period now where, since there really isn't, if GameStop's the only video game store left, you just look everywhere. I check everywhere every couple of days just to see.
Yeah.
Because sales are cyclical. Something's not on sale at Best Buy, but it is at GameStop, and then next week it flips. We would always have to explain that to people when they came to the store. It's on sale at Best Buy. Yeah, dude, I get it. It was on sale here last week. That's how this works.
I'll also say with Best Buy, their shipping and stuff through the website. 'Cause where I live, there's not a Best Buy directly in my town. I have to go a town over if I want to go to Best Buy. But I use their website all the time to ship it to me, and it's great. It's just as good as Amazon, if not better.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
And a lot of times when I order, it's over that $25 limit anyways, so I get the free shipping for free. So who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had to do a couple things where it was great. Ship only kind of a thing, and generally I get it immediately,
real fast.
Yeah.
So, cool. And it's usually early morning because it's coming from FedEx, so I get it right in the morning.
They got their Black Friday. I'm looking right now. They got their Black Friday stuff up right now, man.
Okay, I'll have to look at it. Got two more emails here. This one comes to us from Brian from Salt Lake City, Utah. This came in today. Hi guys, I know on a previous episode you all talked about the James Rolfe stuff. I was curious if you saw he put out an autobiography today. Perhaps this is the project he was so neck deep in that made everything else suffer. I think he means in this past year.
Yeah. That's got to be right.
I will give you full disclosure. I'll give you full disclosure. I saw this get put up. I bought it right away because I really want to read it. I'm very curious. And I think it'll be a fascinating read. It's actually pretty lengthy.
I saw it earlier today too. I was like, oh, he wrote a book.
Very interested. I was like, I'm going to read it. But absolutely. I think, especially if you look at the output he's had this last year, he probably had his head down trying to finish this book. He's been talking about this for a while, and that movie project that we talked about last time we talked about this, where like he wants to make this horror movie. Go make it. I want to see it.
Yeah.
But he's talked about doing this autobiography for a long time. I'm glad it's out, and it wasn't like he didn't do any kind of like Kickstarter or anything. He just made it. Right. It's out. You can buy it. And I think that's cool. No fanfare, just hey, it's out today if you want to.
Maybe that was a big part of like the deal with like
could be
the media company,
Screenwave.
Yeah,
like, Screenwave Media.
We'll do this with you guys, but you got to give me time to write this book, kind of a thing.
It could be, absolutely. So,
but it's cool. I mean,
I'm gonna read it. I'm
more
really
power
excited
to
to
him for writing a whole fucking book, man. Like
exactly, yeah, that's crazy.
Hopefully, now that that's done, he can move on to,
My guess is
the movie would be cool.
Like after the holidays, he starts seeing a bigger output of stuff because he'll take a break for the holidays.
He makes a holiday episode typically.
He always does. I would really like him to make that movie. So what he talked about, and this was a little while ago, sounded really interesting to me. But I love horror movies, so he can do anything that I'll probably watch if it's a horror movie. But it sounded really interesting. So, and he clearly has a passion to make it. So hopefully he does. But yeah, no, I'm gonna read that book. I think it's already coming either tomorrow or Sunday.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Really excited to read.
That's
that
cool.
now.
Yeah. Fine. I don't think I'll read it, but I'd like for you to tell me about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have time to read anymore.
I'm still sitting on that Stephen King book that came out 2 months ago that I bought right away, and then I look at it every night. And I'm like, should I start this tonight? No, I'm gonna watch Kindle.
God, I haven't read Stephen King
that's it. Final email comes to us from Kate from Waynesville, Missouri. She says, "Hi guys, love the podcast. Was curious with the upcoming 10th anniversary of the Wii U. It's been 10 years.
That's weird.
I laughed when I saw that, and then realized." Today, as the day of this recording, is the 10th anniversary.
Well, an even weirder part is like we were talking about earlier, like the Switch is going to be 6 really soon.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
And it very clearly being an underrated system. What is your favorite underrated video game system of all time? Thanks. I mean, I probably would go with the most obvious for me, which is the Dreamcast.
That's what I was going to say.
Is it really that underrated?
It's underrated. People hated it. People hated it so much that it died. Like within 2 years.
I mean, I would also put in the argument the GameCube because again, at the time it was out, incredibly underrated. People didn't want to touch that thing. They wanted a PS2 or an Xbox. And that was the third-rate system. And I played a lot of those third-party games on the GameCube because a lot of times when I would go to the video store to rent something and it was a multi-platform game, guess what? It was always in on.
It was always in on the GameCube. You know what's funny too is whatever. Back in the day, I actually played Madden on the GameCube a lot. For whatever reason, I really liked that version of it, which you wouldn't think would be the version I'd like. But Dreamcast is definitely up there. Just because I don't.
Dreamcast is definitely up there. You could throw in something like TurboGrafx, but I don't have the reverence for it. I didn't have one at the time that it was out. So, whereas like I had a Dreamcast at the time it was out, I had a GameCube at the time it was out. The thing I laugh about when I think about the GameCube that I just thought of is the GameCube is the first system that I really saw with a multi-platform game performance issues in a video game, and it was Hunter the Reckoning. Because when you play split screen, that frame rate tanked hard. And it was one of those, like, you didn't, like, being younger at the time, your buddy talked like, why is this happening in this game?
Not made for a GameCube.
Exactly. So, but I played I'm thinking back, like, Everything or Nothing, that was on the GameCube. I played that there. Like, a lot of those third-party, because, again, on a Friday night, you go to the video store, that Xbox or PS2 copy,
gone.
We already rented.
As someone who worked adjacent to a video store, man, knows that shit was gone.
Exactly,
and it wasn't even us because we couldn't rent stuff for 2 or 3 weeks, video game wise.
Yeah,
because I got free rentals, obviously. So I could not rent stuff. Just like for the very fact that like customers would have it. But you want to know a little game crazy secret? Well, I just happen to have all of these free rental coupons. And my dad has a Hollywood Video account. So I'll just go up to a manager I was cool with and be like, I'd like to rent this, sir. And then it's all I had to do.
Yeah, but that makes sense.
Yeah, but it's someone who worked there, like PS2 stuff, always gone immediately.
Always
Xbox right behind it, and then GameCube, they shelves of it.
Yeah.
It'd be the third one because, and like I said,
so.
it got to a point where it's like I didn't as a kid, I didn't really care like what system I was playing the game on at that point. If it was third party, I just rented
just wanted to play it.
Fine. Exactly, and it would be fine. So, but those would be my two picks. Would be Dreamcast or the GameCube.
Another good one.
Another
good one. I think Matt will agree on is the Saturn is pretty underrated.
You know, I was just literally about to say those words.
I never have really played much of the Saturn, so I can't.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I can agree with you.
It's not many people played it.
No, they really didn't. But it's the good quality games on that system are really good. There's a lot of working design games. There's a lot of like weird RPG shit on there. Mm-hmm. Like fighting games on there are really good. Daytona Racing on there is really good. Like it was just. But again, you want to talk about a system nobody played? Saturn.
The Saturn, I
at least knew people who own Dreamcast, but I knew very few people who own Saturn.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at too. Like I knew several people who had a Dreamcast, so I never really thought about it as underrated because people were always like, "Yo, I got this. You want to come play?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dope." And Crazy Taxi was the go-to. I mean, everybody was playing Crazy Taxi, and like it wasn't until I actually got my Saturn and I started. Like I got the games for it and I actually started playing it and I was like, man, I don't remember anybody talking about this system at all. And it's bananas because Virtual Fighter was always in the arcade and I always saw people around the cabinet, but nobody talked about the console version of it. So
it was something that like I played it a little bit when it came out because I told the story before, but when a friend of mine, his family rented him one for his birthday, like that and a PlayStation. But I didn't really get into it until I started. So I worked at Game Crazy and I got a Saturn for cheap, and I just started kind of buying them as they would come in and trade, or like when people would leave them there because we didn't take them. And then playing them then and just being like, man, like this could have been something, but by that point, like the PlayStation was rising like astronomically, and like Nintendo 64 was there, and just like Saturn never caught on, and then they tried one last time and made a great system nobody played, and then it was over. And just
the Dreamcast 2 is cool because it competed both with the PS1 era and the PS2 era a little bit before it died, but like it was able to compete with both. Like I remember one game I played a ton of on the Dreamcast when I got my Dreamcast, and it was on everything but the first Dave Mirra BMX.
Yeah,
way better.
Tony Hawk on Dreamcast, incredible. That's where I know a lot of people
really good ports.
All the sports stuff on there, like the NBA and NFL 2K. That's where that stuff started.
That port of Top Down GTA 2
really good on Dreamcast.
It didn't have any slowdown or anything, so. A lot of really cool like ports and stuff that you just wouldn't think of.
I think there's reverence for it now, but I still don't think like you talk about like GameCube being something nobody bought then either. But like people are super into GameCube now. There aren't many people who just would be into Dreamcast now like we are. Like
I remember when the Dreamcast came out. I mean, obviously remembers $99.99. It's great marketing date. I remember like when it came out as a kid thinking like, I don't think this thing's going to set the world on fire. And then I had a buddy whose parents just went through a divorce. And so his dad, the dad to like make good on it was like, I'll buy you a Dreamcast. So that's where I first experienced it. Because he literally went out, he stood in line for that midnight or whatever.
Wow.
Got the system. Bought every launch game, he went out and bought everything.
That's a lot of stuff,
House
too.
of the Dead, like all that stuff. So like I got to play all that stuff pretty much right when it came out. That was like my first experience with the Dreamcast, and then after that was like slow. Like I didn't get a Dreamcast until Code Veronica. So and not when Code Veronica came out. Well, after Code Veronica,
it would have been cheaper to take him to Chuck E. Cheese, man.
Exactly right. Hey, we played a lot of House of the Dead, and then and I'm not a big sports person, but like that NFL game,
NFL 2K,
the second one,
like that was the
really
one that like
good.
That changed,
really good.
That game put us on the course we are now, where Madden is absolute dumpster fire. You can literally track it back to that game existing to football.
It was
games
a really
bad.
good football game.
It's awesome.
I'm not a sports person, but we played a lot of that.
Yeah.
There was an NHL too.
There was an NHL. There was World Series baseball.
There's
not
basketball.
Not that good, but NBA 2K like think about how big NBA 2K is now. That's where it started.
That is the basketball game.
Yeah.
So
I got mine because a guy I worked with at the time, I was 16 or 17. I had to be 16 because it was before I went to Game Crazy. He was originally from England, had moved over here for a little while, and he was like, "I'm moving back to England, and I'm not taking this with me." And I said, "Well, I'll give you $150 for like the system, 2 controllers, 2 VMUs, and like 6 games." He's like, "Sure, whatever." And that's when I got it. I started playing. I was like, well, "Shit, dude, this thing's really fucking good."
Yeah.
And then from that point on, I would rent Dreamcast games.
Yeah.
Like Shenmue, man. What's up?
Like I've always said with me, like I bought mine from a mom and pop video game store that was closing, so they had a like crazy deal on it just to play Code Veronica, and then like literally a month later, like here's Code Veronica X coming to
Marvel
PS2,
vs. Capcom.
so I didn't have to.
Marvel vs. Capcom on that system, awesome.
But then I moved from where I lived up to the Detroit area, and that's when I famously had to get the second phone line because I was online that system playing. First it was Quake 3 Arena,
right.
I had the keyboard and mouse. Then it was Unreal Tournament because I found that super cheap at the Kmart that I lived behind, and then it was Phantasy Star because I still remember the GameStop guy like, "You can't trade this game in because of the serial code thing." I was like, "I don't care, dude.
Not playing
like,
on
I
it.
just want to play." Like I just want to play this game that everybody's talking about. So, but yeah, it's that is a hell of a system. But yeah, at the time, like that nobody. Really
I don't think I knew a single other person who owned one. Even when I
just do that, like I just knew that one person, and then when I moved and lived in the Detroit area, like even my friends, like at beginning of high school and stuff, nobody else I knew had a Dreamcast.
No.
Like I had my one friend that lived down the street that was homeschooled come over. He didn't even know what the fuck
Dreamcast
was.
Yeah,
he knew what a PlayStation was. He knew what a Nintendo. He knew all that stuff. But he looked at Dreamcast like, I don't like what the fuck is this?
Talking about Gamecast.
Exactly. So exactly.
I think I got mine from Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, that's where I see that.
Mine obviously I told you the famous story, I melted the fucking lens of mine playing Phantasy Star for 14 hours, but it was next to that heater, so it's audio podcasts, I have one behind me on the shelf here obviously that is in working condition, so it's a fantastic system. It was very underrated at the time. So then GameCube, those are my 2 picks.
Yeah, for sure. I'd say Saturn and Dreamcast.
Saturn,
you can throw Saturn in there. That's really underrated because I haven't played much. But I think the Wii U obviously is there too because the Wii U was just a weird system. Like it was marketed poorly just by being named the Wii U because when it was announced, it was like what is this as a tablet? But every first party Nintendo game on that system like killed every single one of them. The thing is, most of those games have been released or re-released on the Switch.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the one thing. So it's like, that's why like I personally don't own one anymore. And for me, like I don't really need to own one because most of those games I want to play are on the Switch. I could own one for collecting purpose, but it literally would be on the shelf behind me. So
yeah.
But that was also the first Nintendo system that had true HD graphics. Remember just thinking that at the time?
Hey man,
like,
I've got
Mario's in HD now finally.
Hey man, I've got 2 of those $250 official Nintendo cables.
Oh yeah,
because people would trade in their systems with them, but like, okay, I'm gonna swap that for a regular AV cable.
Yeah,
and here we go.
Those are just super expensive now. Yeah,
they still are. Even though you can buy those like weird converter things for cubes, those people still want the real cables because they're.
I bought that.
Yeah,
I have that. The HDMI converter. Yeah, it's great.
People still want those real ones because they're Nintendo made. Like Nintendo made, and they have a chip in them. That's why they're expensive.
Yeah. But yeah, that converter thing that thing is amazing.
There's even better versions than the one you have now too.
There are better versions of it too, and then that company made one for the 64 now too, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's cool. Even though, when am I going to go back to 64 and play anything other than?
I don't know if I want a 64 in HD. I don't know if that would help.
That it seems like hell. Is what that seems like. Those black textures,
lots of sharp lines.
Like man, those wrestlers look really weird. So, but again, that's going to wrap up emails for this episode. Once again, you can always email us at podcast572@gmail.com. We love every email that you guys send us. Send us your game recommendation. We didn't have any game recommendations this time, but I think people are playing shit. So,
and then Black Friday stories. from GameStop
Yeah,
people.
please.
Because by the time we record
GameStop
next,
Black Friday stories,
it'll have been a week out from that. I want to know how it went.
What kind of shit customers did you have?
Yeah.
Did you have good ones?
Mhm.
How bad was it overall? Was it actually busy? I want to hear it all.
Yeah.
I'm really curious. Really curious. So, and then like I said, the next episode we're going to do a bunch of Game Awards predictions. So other than that, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks as always for listening, and we will see you again in 2 weeks.
Thank you, everyone.
Appreciate y'all.